I, the super rich crown prince, will build the richest country. Please like, share and subscribe. Episode 71. The news that shocked the world. From then on, China became an aviation power. As for the exposure of the fact that Xinhan has developed fighter jets, Xiao Yunhai believes that it will be exposed sooner or later. And the satellites of the United States are so powerful. Maybe they have captured it, so there is no need to hide it. Just right. Let the outside world be quiet for a while. Let the Javan monkeys and Philippine monkeys be quiet and stop making small moves. By the way, publicize it to the outside world. It will be convenient for export to North Africa, the Middle East or South America in the future. Okay. Lin Na agreed happily, and then went to find the photographer to ask for photos. Xiao Yunhai went to the technical verification machine with Xia Qiming. Anyway, he didn't understand, so he just followed and watched more. Lin Ming is a reporter for the military news channel of Xinhan National Television. On weekdays, it mainly broadcasts some daily news of military training and overseas military intelligence. As usual, after broadcasting the morning news, she is reviewing and discussing the content of the noon broadcast with the editing team. Lin Yu. At this moment, a shout came. Looking up, it was her immediate boss. Leader, should I be contacted? Go to the director's office. He said he has something important to talk to you about. Go quickly. Hearing this, Lin Yu was slightly stunned. Without thinking too much, she nodded quickly and walked quickly towards the director's office. Knock, knock. Raised her hand and knocked on the door with her fingers. Come in. Hearing the sound coming from the room, Lin Yu pushed the door open and walked in. Director, are you contacting me? Yes. The director nodded, stretched out his hand and put the photos and some small videos that had just been downloaded and copied to the USB drive on the table. Take this USB drive, and ask the post-editing department to edit it quickly. A message will be inserted into the news program at noon today. The content is in the USB drive. Hearing this, Lin Yu was curious in her heart. What kind of news is worth the director's arrangement to jump the queue? Normally, the content of the news that has been decided will not be changed. But since the director wants to change it, what else can the subordinate do? Go west. He took the USB drive, then found the post-production editing department and handed it to them. The director arranged it. Minister Wu, you arrange for someone to edit the contents. Hearing that it was arranged by the director himself, the person in charge of film and television post-production editing, who was about to complain, swallowed the words on his lips in an instant. Xiao Lu, you handle it. Handed the USB drive to his employees. When the employees got the USB drive and plugged it into the computer. Play some pictures and videos in it. Is this the Gripen fighter? No, why is it the yellow verification machine? Wait, these people. Your Highness? At the same time, Lin Yu, who was standing behind the technician Xiao Lu, also saw the 903 material played in the video. Grabbed the mouse from Xiao Lu, put it down again, and listened carefully to the sound inside. Then his eyes widened, and he said in shock, this. We have developed a fighter? This. How is this possible? What fighter? Sister Lin, who did you say developed a fighter? Lin Ming's voice was not small, and the office happened to be very quiet at this time, so Lin Yu's exclamation immediately attracted a lot of attention. Lin Ming was about to say, Xiao Lu exclaimed, oh my god, big news, unprecedented big news, our military research institute can actually produce fighters. What? Fighter? We can produce fighter? Are you kidding me? We can produce such advanced weapons? That's right, Xiao Lu, stop joking. Facing the disbelief of the crowd, Xiao Lu said, if you don't believe it, look for yourself. The video playing is the test video of our fighter's first flight. Even His Royal Highness the Crown Prince was on the scene. Do you dare to say it's fake? When everyone heard this, they came to him and watched the video playing on Xiao Lu's computer screen. They were shocked. It was obviously very unexpected. How could they have thought that their country could build airplanes without making any noise? Oh my god, this is too magical. No wonder they had to interrupt. This news is really worth interrupting. At this moment, Lin Yu also understood. Then dispersed the crowd. Xiao Lu, don't waste time. Hurry up. There is not much time left. Under Lin Yu's urging, Xiao Lu remembered that this video had to be edited. He hurriedly got busy. Fortunately, he finally finished editing after rushing. Su Tianyu is a veteran. After he was injured and discharged from the army, he ran a convenience store supermarket in his hometown Gaoyu County. His life was not very good, but he still earned more than working in a factory. The only thing was that he had to sit in the store for too long every day, from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Fortunately, this job was relatively leisurely. When he was free, he liked to watch the news in the store, watch military channels, and live broadcasts online. As usual, he soaked a bucket of instant noodles, sat on a chair, turned on the computer, and found the official live broadcast channel. The birth of this aircraft marks a huge breakthrough from 0 to 1 in my country, and has achieved great progress in independently building fighter jets. At this moment, we can proudly say that Xinhan is a strong country in the aviation industry. Wait? What the hell? Sighed. Su Tianyu was in high spirits, sat up straight, and stared at the computer in front of him. However, he was late and only heard a little bit of the end. He did not see the previous test flight video and the photos taken on the scene. After seeing other content being played on the live broadcast channel, Su Tianyu quickly searched for relevant information on his computer. Soon, Xinhan.com, which is also the largest news website of Xinhan and is officially operated, appeared. The headline on its homepage was marked in red. A groundbreaking progress, today my country's first independently developed fighter jet made its maiden flight. Seeing this title, Su Tianyu took a breath, looked a little excited, and clicked on the title excitedly. The web page opened immediately. According to the military, today, my country's first domestically made fighter jet independently developed by my country's military research institute based on the Reborn fighter jet completed its maiden flight today. During the maiden flight, it completed many maneuvers one after another, which proved the reliability of my country's independently developed fighter jets. It is reported that after completing many tests, it may be equipped with my country's air force to enhance the strength of my country's air force. This will make my country the first country in Southeast Asia to independently develop and produce fighter jets, and it is also ranked in the top 5 in the world. The emergence of this fighter jet also marks a major breakthrough in our military industry. I believe that in the near future, the strength of my country's air force will be greatly improved. There are a lot of pictures in the article. It can be clearly seen that the Reborn fighter jet painted with yellow paint was tested and taken pictures. Su Tianyu looked at it blankly and swallowed his saliva. It was a bit difficult to accept for a while. It was mainly too unexpected. I have never heard that the country is developing its own fighter jets. After a brief moment of shock and distraction, Su Tianyu regained consciousness and opened the social software with excitement. He found a chat group called Defending the Country, Bloodstained on the Battlefield, and it had all the netizens in the group. Then he sent a message, "Brothers, this is great, so exciting, our country has developed a fighter jet and it was successful." Less than a minute after the message was sent, someone replied in the group. "Lao Su, you are still asleep, right? Our country has no industry, how can we possibly develop advanced weapons like fighter jets? Do you know? The number of countries in the world that can develop fighter jets can be counted on one hand. Apart from the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council and Sweden in Northern Europe, which other countries have developed fighter jets?" This statement was immediately recognized by several other netizens. "That's right, Lao Su, if you want to bomb the group, you can say something else, such as developing an armored vehicle, maybe I will believe it. Yes, if we can develop a fighter jet, I will eat shit immediately." Su Tianyu's eyes lit up when he saw this comment. He immediately typed, "Lao Yi, are you serious about what you said? If the country really develops a fighter jet, will you eat shit? Why not? I'm putting it in the group today. If we can independently develop a fighter jet, I will eat shit immediately." Brothers in the group will bear witness. The netizen named Lao Yi immediately replied in the group. "I'll testify. I'll testify too." Seeing this, Su Tianyu copied the previous URL and sent it to the group. He typed, "Olji, I think you're going to get into trouble this time." After the message was sent, no one replied. 1 minute passed. 3 minutes passed. Until 5 minutes later, someone in the group replied. F***K, Lao Su, is the news in the link you sent true or false? Did our country really develop a fighter independently? Of course it's true. The military news channel has broadcast it before. Great. Awesome, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince is so amazing. It hasn't been long since he led the Military Research Institute to develop a fighter. It's amazing. This is terrible. Lao Yi is going to eat shit. Hey, Lao Yi, don't hide. Everyone has seen it. You said that our country has developed a fighter. You are going to eat shit, everyone just testified. The netizen named Lao Yi immediately started to attack and argued, "Did I say this? Don't F***King frame me. Look, Lao Yi is cheating, bullshit, I'm not cheating. Let's not talk about whether I made this bet or not. Even if I did, I can't eat shit. I said independent research and development. Can imitating the Reborn fighter be considered independent research and development? It's a skill to be able to imitate it. How many countries in the world can imitate fighters? Besides, haven't you read the news? Aircraft engines, radars, avionics equipment, these are all independent products, not purchased from abroad. If this is not independent research and development, what is it? That's right, Lao Yi, stop quibbling, eat shit. The Lao Yi who was scolded made a red face expression. Bullshit, you want me to eat shit? No way. I won't talk to you, I have something to log off first. F***K, Lao Yi, I can't afford to lose. At this time, with the news reports from official TV stations and websites, the people of Xinhan were boiling, especially the men. This is more exciting than the royal family taking out 10 billion Han yuan to give to the people before. Great, we have our own fighters too. Long live Xinhan. I wish the engineers good health and longevity. So cool, thumbs up for our military experts. Come on, my country, so exciting. I didn't expect the country is still spending a lot of money on developing fighter jets. So amazing, this is too well hidden. There was no news before, but now it's revealed that the independently developed fighter jet has made its first flight? So amazing. 38. On this day, the entire Xinhan people were like chicken blood. Countless netizens were excitedly discussing the test flight of the new fighter jet and whether its performance was better than the previously imported, original Gripen fighter jet. Some netizens even posted the news to foreign news platforms such as YouTube, Twitter and Weibo. It has caused intense heated discussions abroad. Longhua. Weibo. According to the official announcement of Xinhan, the first fourth-generation aircraft developed by the company successfully flew this morning. It is reported that this new fighter is developed based on the Gripen fighter. Its performance has not yet been announced. According to the news released by Xinhan, this fighter is said to have not purchased any parts, but developed independently. If this is true, it means that Xinhan has strong R&D capabilities in the military industry. It may become one of the few countries in the world that can develop fighters independently. Hashtag Xinhan officially announced the first flight of a new fighter. Hashtag Xinhan new fighter. Hashtag Xinhan self-developed fighter first flight. Hashtag. Similar hot words quickly became popular searches. It has caused heated discussions among countless Longhua netizens. As for why Longhua netizens pay so much attention to Xinhan, one is that everyone is of the same origin and speaks Mandarin and Chinese. Second, Xinhan's social media is basically Weibo and Penguin, and of course Facebook, Twitter and other software. As for Xinhan's local software companies, they are basically stillborn and have not developed. Therefore, you can see many Xinhan netizens on Weibo. The news rushed to the hot search and immediately triggered heated discussions among countless netizens. Xinhan can develop fighter jets? Isn't this too strong? Damn, this small country is amazing. It can even develop fighter jets. Although it is reverse engineering, it is also amazing. I just found the official news released by Xinhan and the leaked video. I think everyone underestimates Xinhan. They are independently developed. Although the shell is a Gripen fighter, their avionics, engines, and radars are all developed. And from the flames ejected by the engine, I feel that Xinhan is a little stronger than us in the field of aviation engines. The people above are joking. Xinhan is a small country, and there has been no news of self-developed fighter jets before. How can it be stronger than us? That's right, it's too boastful. I think it's too exaggerated, but being able to develop and produce fighter jets is already very good, especially for a small country. Strictly speaking, they are not a small country. With 120,000 square kilometers and a population of more than 17 million, they are not a small country. Some people above are ignorant. Although Xinhan is not a big country, its pharmaceutical industry is very strong. All the popular drugs on the market, such as slimming pills, breast augmentation pills, whitening, freckle removal, and acne removal, are developed by Xinhan. Don't underestimate them. Moreover, they have a lot of oil. Damn, if the news is true, then the future overlord of Southeast Asia will be replaced by Xinhan from Annan. I think so too. It purchased $10 billion of naval equipment before, and now it has developed its own fighter jets. Has Xinhan used external plugins in the past 2 years? A small country can do this, so it is strong. Xinhan reverse-engineered the Gripen fighter and successfully completed the test flight, which not only caused a sensation among the public, but also caused a great shock among officials of various countries. However, since Xinhan officials did not disclose relevant information about the fighter, the detailed parameters of this fighter are not clear. The Americans believe that Longhua or Maoxiong provided technical support, such as aircraft engines. Otherwise, how could Xinhan develop a fighter? The Maoxiong also believes that Longhua provided technical support. And Longhua believes that it was the Americans who provided engines and radar equipment to Xinhan. As for Xinhan, the three countries, not to mention the officials of all countries around the world, do not believe the claim of fully independent research and development. After all, aircraft are too difficult to develop. Before, Xinhan was not an aviation power, so how could it have developed it? Xiao Yunhai was happy to see such misunderstandings. The contempt of various countries made it easier for Xinhan to upgrade secretly. The success of the Gripen fighter also means that there will be no threshold for Xinhan to develop the 5th-generation stealth fighter. The key technologies have been solved, and those that cannot be solved can also be solved urgently through the system. What other thresholds are there? Episode 72, Protest, Angry Saab, Enhanced Gripen Fighter, Northern Europe. Sweden. Saab, Conference Room. The content played on the large projection screen was the first flight video of the self-developed fighter jet of Xinhan. Many Saab executives in the meeting looked very ugly at the moment. Their flagship product, a fighter jet developed at a cost of countless money, was copied by others, and the appearance was exactly the same. Do you think the host is happy? Everyone, tell me, what should we do about this matter? Sitting in the main seat, John Snyder, then CEO of Saab, spoke. As soon as the voice fell, a senior executive said indignantly, "Boss, we must protest to Xinhan. This is naked plagiarism. We must make them compensate us for our losses and stop infringing on our rights." Mr. Carl is a bit too naive. Do you think this is an ordinary commodity? This is a fighter jet. How could they withdraw it because of your protest? One person retorted. Carl was furious. Harry, what do you mean? Are we allowed to plagiarize? Harry shook his head. That's not what I mean. I mean, plagiarism must be protested, but the possibility of it having an effect is very slim. After a pause, Harry smiled and said, "In fact, everyone thinks this matter is too serious. Fighter aircraft is the crown of industry. How difficult is it to develop a fighter aircraft? Our Saab company has been developing for decades and has absorbed European and American technology to develop to this point. And many parts are still used in the United States, Gaul and other countries, while Xinhan is just a small Southeast Asian country. There is no industrial foundation and zero experience in the aviation field. I think the Gripen fighter jet tested by Xinhan this time is just a show. I guess it must be technical support from Longhua. You all know that the Jin-10 fighter developed by Longhua also uses a canard layout. With the relationship between the two countries, I think it is very likely that Xinhan asked Longhua to customize the fighter jet, and then shipped it to Xinhan for assembly. The fighter plane should use the engine and avionics equipment of Longhua. The performance is far from that of our Gripen fighter. When selling fighter planes, we sell performance. I believe that our Gripen fighter plane is definitely not comparable to counterfeit products. So, there is no need to worry too much. After a pause, Harry continued, of course, although the performance of the Nukem fighter plane is not as good as ours, the customer group is the same. We should prohibit the export of any parts to Nukem. At the same time, we should prevent Nukem from obtaining related parts from Gaul and the United States. We should apply to the United States to prohibit the export of parts to Nukem. Under this ban, I believe that the Nukem version of the Gripen fighter plane will not be able to continue due to parts problems. After Harry's explanation, everyone's face eased a lot. Yes. Fighter planes are not just copying the shell, the most important thing is the parts inside, which determines the performance of the fighter plane this time. Longhua fighter planes are not as good as their Gripen fighter planes, let alone Nukem. Thinking of this, everyone's face relaxed a lot. Harry is right, we don't have to worry too much. However, it is still necessary to ban the export of spare parts to Xinhan. Didn't we sell them more than 10 Gripen fighters before? I don't think we will do business with them in the future. If so, their fighters will not fly for long before they cannot fly again due to the lack of spare parts. An executive expressed his thoughts and received nods from everyone. John Snyder, after a moment's silence, also felt that Harry and others were right, and that there was no need for them to be frightened. Just do what Harry said. Express strong protest to Xinhan, ask it to apologize immediately, stop the infringement, and compensate for the relevant losses. John Snyder made the decision. The protest at Saab was quickly conveyed to the Swiss government. Saab is a key enterprise in Switzerland. After learning of the infringement, it immediately expressed its cooperation. Then the Swiss diplomats contacted Xinhan to protest the infringement. Xinhan, Chang'an. The palace. Your Highness. What's the matter? Just now, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs received a letter of protest from the Swiss Saab company, saying that our fighter jets infringed their Gripen fighter jets and demanded that they stop infringing immediately, otherwise they will bear the consequences. Lin Na said solemnly and loudly. You will bear the consequences? Xiao Yunhai showed sarcasm. Why are you still threatening? Do you really take yourself seriously? Don't pay attention to them, they will stop calling in a few days. At this time, the more you pay attention to them, the more they will be arrogant. Besides, the appearance of the fighter jets is similar, and it's not just this time. Many countries didn't start by imitating, so don't pay attention to them. Lin Nai nodded, okay, Your Highness. By the way, Xiao Yunhai remembered something. Contact the Minister of Defense, I have seen him many times. Yes. Half an hour later. In the room, there was a knock on the door. Come in. Click. The door opened and Lin Nao walked in. Your Highness, the Minister of Defense has been brought in. Well, let him in. Yes. After a moment, Chang Lin walked in. Hello, Your Highness. Xiao Yunhai looked up, looked at Yu Chun Lin in front of him, and said with a smile, sit down. After that, he stood up and walked over. The two sat down on the sofa. The new year is coming soon. The Air Force will develop vigorously next year. Your military should be prepared. My suggestion is to build 4 Air Force bases in Beihai Province and Donghai Province to meet the needs of Air Force expansion. Beihai has an Air Force base, but facing the provocative Philippine monkeys, Xiao Yunhai feels it is necessary to add 2 more Air Force bases behind. Donghai Province is located near the Sulu Sea. It can support the war against the Philippines in the north and Clamp Java in the south. It is in the belly of Xinhan. In fact, the number of Air Force bases in Xinhan is not small. Not counting the mixed use of military and civilians, there are still 9 Air Force bases. Most of them are small bases. There are only 2 large Air Force bases. Adding 2 more can enhance the counterattack capability. Secondly, the expansion of the Air Force is inevitable. At present, the Nuhan Air Force has 26 F-16 fighters, 12 Gripen fighters, 12 Su-27 fighters, 7 C-130 Hercules transport aircraft, 4 IL-76 transport aircraft, 16 L-39 trainer aircraft, 25 Ka trainer aircraft, and 22 A-29 Super Tucano. In addition, there are 18 EC-725 helicopters, 13 UH-1 helicopters, 18 AH-1 armed helicopters, and 24 Black Hawks that have not yet been delivered. This force is no problem to deal with the Philippines and Malaysia. But it is still a little lacking to deal with Java. Besides, Yunuhan is developing, and others are also developing. Take Siam for example, the Siamese Air Force is growing rapidly, and in terms of the number of military aircraft, it is estimated to be the best in Southeast Asia. And it is still buying vigorously. Please give me flowers. So the expansion of the Air Force is inevitable. Because it was said that the new base would be built next year, Yu Chenglin did not mention the military expenditure, but asked about the scale and runway length of the 4 Air Force bases. Build it according to the large Air Force base. Design 2 runways, the runway length is 3,200 meters, and it can take off large transport aircraft. Anyway, there is money, so just repair it better, and we will also need to buy transport aircraft in the future, and the next step is to train airborne troops. There are too many islands in Xinhan, and military aircraft are undoubtedly the fastest way to quickly deploy troops. In the past, there was no money to do these. Now that we have money, it is necessary to strengthen our strength in this area. Just like the big dog owners in the Middle East. When you have money, you like to buy. Besides, if Xiao Yunhai buys and consumes, the system can return points. So it must be done. Hearing that 4 large Air Force bases were to be built at one time, Yu Chenglin was secretly shocked. Surprised. Needless to say, the Air Force will add a lot of military aircraft in the next few years. Otherwise, there won't be so many airports. Of course, he is happy to see this. As a soldier, no one doesn't like to strengthen military strength. Not to mention building 4 military airports, he would agree to build 40. November 27th. Xiao Yunhai came to the Military Research Institute again. He asked about the progress of the codenamed White Crane fighter, especially whether it needs major improvements after the first flight. No major improvements are needed. It mainly depends on the needs of the Air Force. As long as the performance requirements are not particularly high, this model can be mass-produced now. Hearing this, Xiao Yunhai nodded and asked about the performance of the aircraft, such as radar search range, maximum flight speed, combat radius, and weapon mounting capacity. These determine whether to mass-produce or wait for further improvements before mass-producing. The maximum flight speed can reach Mach 2, and the combat radius can reach 1,100 kilometers if it is like the prototype, which uses a large amount of carbon fiber composite materials. In terms of weapons, what tasks can be performed? It has 10 racks with a maximum mounting capacity of 7.8 tons, which means that when performing air combat missions, it can carry up to 8 air-to-air missiles. If it is performing ground combat, it depends on the type of bombs hung. Small bombs can be hung with composite racks. 12. In terms of radar, it is based on the optimized and reduced version of the JKL-24 AESA phased array radar. The current maximum detection distance can reach 240 kilometers. I think the performance is 1,000 points ahead. If this fighter really has shortcomings, I think the fuselage is too small. If it was designed a little bigger, the mounting capacity would be further improved, and the combat radius could also be improved. It must be an excellent multi-purpose fighter. Xiao Yunhai nodded when he heard this. As for the fuselage used was the Gripen E. If the original Gripen fighter was used, the mounting capacity would be even weaker. However, as a light fighter, it has a combat radius of 1,100 kilometers and can carry 8 air-to-air missiles, which is already good. At this distance, it can already hit Luzon, and the entire Kalimantan island is also within the coverage range. And Sulawesi Island in Java is also within the strike range. As a defensive fighter, Xiao Yunhai is okay. If you really want to kick the door, you won't use the Gripen. And if you only carry 4 air-to-air missiles and add auxiliary fuel tanks, can the range be increased to 1,400 kilometers? Episode 73, Fruits are on the market. Oh my god, strawberries as big as fists? If we put all our efforts into producing the current model, how many can we produce in a year? Xiao Yunhai asked. He felt that this model was sufficient for now and could be used as a transition period, and it would still be advanced enough for the next 10 years. It certainly cannot be compared with the big countries, but there are only 3 superpowers in the world, and how many of the others have stealth fighters? Therefore, this white crane fighter is enough. As for stealth fighters, they can be developed and iterated, but there is no need to equip them on a large scale. Unless the strength of Xinhan has become a regional power like Gaul and Britain, it is better to keep a low profile before that. The first bird to stick out gets shot. If you develop the economy, everyone thinks you are not a threat. It's nothing more than having a lot of money. Under absolute military strength, having a lot of money is just a piece of fat meat. But if you vigorously develop the military, and develop weapons and equipment by yourself, and develop stealth fighters, then I'm sorry, you are a threat to me, so I must suppress and sanction you with all my strength. Destroy your economy. Even send people to brainwash your people and carry out color revolutions. In short, I will do everything I can to kill you. Therefore, it may not be a good thing to produce too advanced weapons and equipment before you have enough strength. Especially for an island country like Xinhan, it is too easy to blockade it. If we don't consider the material problem, according to the current production line, we can produce 90 aircraft a year with full capacity production. If we add a pulse production line, it should be no problem to produce 200 aircraft a year, provided that we increase production and increase personnel. Xia Qiming thought for a while and said, "Okay, I will increase the manpower and production line for you. In addition, this fighter will be considered for export in the future, so for radar and avionics equipment, your researchers will make a weakened version for foreign trade. For example, for radar, there is no need to use phased array radar, just use Kepler radar, and the same is true for air-to-air missiles. Good things must be kept for home use. The export of weapons and equipment 003 must be weakened. This is also the routine operation of countries around the world to export weapons. And he has already thought about exporting to Samba, Aden or North Africa and the Middle East. As for Southeast Asia, Myanmar can consider exporting. Other Southeast Asian countries will not consider exporting. Exporting to Myanmar is because the two countries are too far apart and there is no conflict of interest. In this case, if there is a demand, as long as the money is in place, it can be considered for export. Understood. Xia Qiming nodded in agreement. In addition, the development of twin-engine multi-purpose fighters that can carry more ammunition should also be included in the development process. There are also early warning aircraft. You can consider making changes based on business jets. My requirement is to be able to detect targets within 500 kilometers. Regardless of whether it is a stealth fighter or not, I hope that the early warning aircraft we develop can detect and track it. For details, please refer to the early warning aircraft information I gave you last time about Longwa and the United States. After a pause, Xiao Yunhai continued, also, the helicopter part cannot be left behind. I will give you the relevant technical information later. You can arrange personnel to develop helicopters specifically. With a full set of technical information, top technical experts and various machines and equipment, the research and development is actually not difficult. Other countries may need several years, more than 10 or 20 years to develop a fighter from scratch. Xinhan does not need it. It has everything. It only needs to produce the corresponding parts according to the technical drawings, and then assemble and test them. Xia Qiming nodded. It is easy to do with technical drawings, which saves most of the time. Afterwards, Xiao Yunhai came to a lounge, then turned on the system and found several armed helicopters he had taken a fancy to before. V-280 Helicopter Technical Information. Introduction. The third-generation tilt-rotor helicopter of the United States, developed based on the V-22 Osprey helicopter, has low-speed flexibility and high-speed large. The maneuverability and fuel efficiency of the aircraft are ahead of the V-22, and it has a longer range. Price, 20 million points. Bell 360 Attack Helicopter. Introduction: one of the next generation of American attack helicopter models, with a power cabin, transmission system and rotor in the middle of the fuselage, a tail rotor at the tail, and a clear fold line running through the middle of the fuselage, which is conducive to achieving radar stealth effect. Price, 18 million points. Dauntless X General Helicopter. Introduction: the next generation of long-range assault helicopter developed by Boeing and Lockheed for the United States. Its design features two rigid coaxial rotors and a propulsion propeller at the tail, which enables it to cruise at high speed. Its predecessor is the SB-1 Dauntless helicopter. Price, 19 million points. These three helicopters are excellent in both appearance and performance. And the key is that the United States has not put them into service yet. Take the Dauntless X helicopter for example. Even the original prototype X-2 helicopter has not been born, let alone the Dauntless X helicopter that has been iterated many times. The Dauntless X was not exposed until 2024. Of course, there are other types of helicopters, but Xiao Yunhai thinks these three are the most suitable. 2 general-purpose helicopters and 1 armed reconnaissance helicopter. For a country with many islands like Xinhan, general-purpose helicopters are the most suitable. Take the lead with light helicopters to eliminate potential enemies. Then use general-purpose helicopters for rappelling. After purchasing the 3 technical data, Xiao Yunhai asked someone to pick up the research and development data and take it to Xia Qiming's office, and handed the data to him. This is the technical data of 3 helicopters. Take a look. Next, we will develop 3 helicopters. Well, give priority to the development of Bell 360 armed helicopters. Xiao Yunhai asked someone to pour a cup of tea, sat on a chair, took a sip, and said to Yuan Qiming, who was flipping through the pages. General-purpose helicopters. After the United States delivered the Black Hawk, there were already quite a few, more than 40. On the contrary, armed helicopters are in short supply. Currently, there are only 18 AH-1 armed helicopters, which were purchased more than 10 years ago. The performance of avionics equipment and other equipment is definitely not as good as the new AH-1, so adding Bell 360 armed helicopters can greatly enhance the ground support capability. How long will it take to develop a prototype? Seeing Xia Qiming nod to show that he understood, Xiao Yunhai hurriedly asked. Xia Qiming thought for a while after hearing this. He said, if we develop it completely according to the technical data above, we should be able to develop a prototype in half a year at the fastest and a year at the slowest. If your highness wants to further develop and upgrade it, it will take a long time. Xiao Yunhai shook his head. No, follow the technical drawings first, and consider whether to iterate after the prototype is made. Xia Qiming nodded. It should be done in half a year. Okay, I'll leave these things to you. Whether our Xinhan can achieve military power depends on you. Xiao Yunhai was very happy. He even thought about whether to add more burden to Xia Qiming and develop armored vehicles, but he pushed the idea back. It's better not to give the army equipment to Xia Qiming. He can concentrate on the development of helicopters, fighters, and early warning aircraft. The army tanks, armored vehicles, etc. should be left to Shanghai Automobile Manufacturing Company to develop. The time came to December. Fruits cultivated in greenhouses and using genetic pesticides. Strawberry, cherries, kiwi, pineapple, durian, rambutan, mangosteen, several new varieties of fruits are officially launched in Xinhan. With modern agricultural technology, many fruits are available all year round. Lu Song is a Chinese from Longhua. He is 37 years old this year and specializes in fruit wholesale business. Every year, he goes to Southeast Asia to get fruits and sells them in Guangdong. After 10 years, he has made a lot of money. Not only does he live in a big villa in Guangzhou, but he also runs more than a dozen retail stalls in Guangzhou and Pengcheng. With the wholesale of fruits, it is not difficult for him to make 7 or 8 million yuan a year. Before, he imported fruits from Siam and Annan. But in the past year, Xinhan and Longhua have signed a trade and economic cooperation agreement, and there is zero tariff on agricultural products between the two countries. And visa-free. He thought about coming to Xinhan to have a look. After all, Xinhan is also a tropical country. Although Xinhan is a little farther than Siam and Annan, it has no tariffs. Just like the previous 2 days, he planned to go around the vegetable market and ask if there was a place to wholesale fruits. He was not looking for the middleman, but the place of origin, Songyu. This is the only way to make money. Buying from middlemen, the profit is much less, and selling it back, you can't make much money. He came to the vegetable market at around 5 in the morning. This time period is the time to stock up. When he arrived, there were already many vehicles and people. Before he got close, he saw a crowd of people gathered around him. He exclaimed, "Is this a strawberry? My God, this strawberry is too big, isn't it? It's bigger than my fist. It looks good, but I don't know if it's sweet." Brother, where did you get these strawberries? How much is it per pound? Yes, brother, how much do you sell these strawberries for? I'll buy one layer at a time. There was a noisy discussion. Fist-sized strawberries? Lu Song was startled. There are strawberries this big? With curiosity, he quickly squeezed into the crowd and saw several people unloading boxes of strawberries from the car. Each foam box was filled with strawberries, which were very big. It completely overturned his perception of strawberries. In his memory, strawberries were only slightly bigger than plums, but the strawberries he saw were about the same size as apples, and they were big apples. It felt like this strawberry weighed 3 tails. This was the first time he had seen such strawberries. Brother, your strawberry looks a bit like the island country's Myrenji? Hearing this, the man looked at Lu Song and smiled. You have good taste. They didn't recognize it. Yes, it is indeed Myrenji. What's wrong with Myrenji strawberry? This strawberry is expensive? Fruit vendors may not be able to recognize the variety of strawberries. After all, there are too many kinds of strawberries, up to hundreds of them. It is difficult for people who are not specialized in selling strawberries or who often eat strawberries to distinguish the variety of strawberries by appearance. Seeing the heated discussions and curiosity around them, Lu Song explained, Bijinji strawberries are a type of strawberry grown on the island. They are very expensive, costing $300 or $400 per pound. If they are bigger, they are even more expensive, costing $500 or $600, or even thousands of dollars. However, this is the first time I have seen such a large Bijinji strawberry. What? So much for 1 pound? Are you trying to rob me? $300 or $400, if converted into our currency, wouldn't it be 1,000 Chinese yuan? Hey, can eating these strawberries cause hernia? This price is too expensive. The strawberries I bought the day before yesterday were only a dozen yuan, and I thought it was expensive. Now they say this strawberry costs 1,000 yuan per pound. Hey, it's too scary. Who can afford such a high price? What you said is the lowest price. Didn't you hear what this brother said? The bigger the strawberry, the more expensive it is. According to what this brother said, this strawberry must cost 5,000 or 6,000 yuan per caddy? XOFA. Everyone was talking at once, and they were all shocked by the price of the beauty strawberry variety. They were all curious about how much this buyer was going to sell it for per caddy. Little brother, how much do you plan to sell this strawberry for per caddy? The man heard, it's not expensive, not as exaggerated as you think. This strawberry is cultivated and produced in our country. Well, the price is 500 Han Yuan per month. With the previous preparation, after hearing 500 Han Yuan per caddy, everyone felt that this price was quite cheap. After all, according to what the little brother just said, it would cost several thousand yuan per caddy. Brother, give me a pound, I want to taste it. What's the difference between these strawberries? A pork seller took out money and said. F***K, Lee the butcher, you're buying it at such a high price? Buy it, I want to see if it makes me immortal. Seeing that there are customers buying, the boss is naturally happy to sell it. 500 yuan per pound, his purchase cost is 410 yuan per pound, plus the transportation cost. In fact, it is almost 420 yuan. Of course, the stall fee and labor expenses must be considered, but it is still no problem to make 40 to 50 yuan per pound. For strawberries weigh 1 pound and 1 ounce. The butcher also paid more money. Then he washed it with the tap next to him, and then, under the eyes of everyone, he couldn't wait to take a bite. Delicious. It's so delicious. Sweet and delicate, no residue, just the right sweetness, and very juicy. The butcher took another bite and showed an expression of enjoyment. Seeing the people around him drooling. And without the butcher saying anything, they also smelled a faint strawberry aroma. Lu Song's eyes lit up. Although he had never wholesaled the Beauty Princess strawberries, he had eaten them, and more than once. However, the Beauty Princess strawberries produced in the island country, although delicious, were definitely not like these Beauty Princess strawberries, which actually had a faint strawberry aroma. Boss, give me a pound too. Realizing some business opportunities, Lu Song said to the strawberry boss. Pay money. Wash the strawberries. Then take a bite. The strawberry juice instantly filled the entire mouth. Hey! It really has a strawberry fruit aroma. The sweetness is also just right, not sweet and greasy. And there is really no fruit residue. It's amazing. This strawberry tastes so good. Lu Song was overjoyed. If there weren't many bosses around, he would have wanted to ask immediately where these strawberries were bought. The selling price is 500 Chinese yuan per caddy. The cost is at most between 420 to 450. It's not even that much. You can guess how much profit you can make by doing fruit wholesale business. This price is much cheaper than the beauty princess of the island country. If you buy it, you can supply it to the rich and five-star restaurants, and you will definitely make a fortune. Guangdong and Pengcheng are not short of rich people. At that time, you can open up channels to cities such as Magic City and Yanjing. Hiss. Lu Song thinks this business has great potential. Driven by the two or three more people in the market bought it, all in partnership. Everyone wants to try it. What is the difference between these sky-high strawberries and this? Xinghan Agricultural Company did not wait for buyers to come, but looked for buyers on the internet, especially in the United States, Europe, and the Middle East. Of course, dragon countries Hong Kong, Taiwan, and the mainland were not forgotten. The base is large, and there are still many rich people seeking buyers. Everyone knows that fruits cannot be kept for long after they mature. If they are not sold quickly, they will rot. Therefore, people who run fruit businesses frantically seek buyers or do promotional marketing before the fruits are sold. In order to promote the fruit products of Xinghan Agricultural Company, Xiao Yunhai also asked Oasis Investment Company and the Royal Investment Bureau to cooperate in publicity. Let the social media and news websites invested by these two companies promote them. More often, through diplomatic channels, contact the wealthy countries in the Middle East such as Saudi Camel, UAE Camel, and Qatar Camel to see if there is demand. If so, they will be directly airlifted to their doorsteps. Of course, the cost of the aircraft must be included. After seeing the samples, the royal families of these wealthy countries came to buy tens of millions of dollars of goods without saying a word. For the royal families of these wealthy countries, every day when they wake up, they think about how to spend money. Episode 74. The shockingly high price of strawberries is simply a steal. Vegetable market. Wait for the crowd to disperse. Lu Song specifically found the boss who sold strawberries before. He bought another 5 kilograms directly. He spent 2,500 Han Yuan, which is more than 7,000 yuan in Longwa currency. He felt a little distressed. But in order to get the information he needed, Lu Song had to grit his teeth. Brother, tell me, what's the matter? Since you bought so many strawberries, I will definitely help you if I can. The boss was not stupid. Seeing that he bought so many but did not leave, he immediately guessed that something was wrong. Seeing that the boss guessed that he had something to do, Lu Song smiled slightly, without the slightest embarrassment, and said with a smile, "Boss, you have a sharp eye and you can see through it at a glance. I do have something to ask the boss. I am from Longwa, specializing in fruit wholesale business, selling your country's fruits to Longwa. I think these strawberries are pretty good, and I want to ask, where did you buy your strawberries wholesale? Longwa people?" The boss was a little surprised. Yes. Lu Song nodded and took out his passport. The boss took a look and handed the passport to Lu Song, saying, "Since you take care of my business and the people of Longwa, I will tell you that all these fruits are purchased from Xinjiang County in Hanyang, a company called Xinghan Agricultural Company. It is said that this agricultural company has a royal background. Although the products are expensive, they are really good." Hanyang, Xinjiang County? Lu Song was confused. He had just come to Xinjiang, so he didn't know where Xinjiang County was. You can find a store and buy a map. Seeing his confused look, the boss kindly reminded him and said, "It's not far from here. It only takes more than an hour by car." Hearing this, Jigua hurriedly thanked him. "Thank you, boss." "You're welcome. I'm also considering that you bought so many strawberries, otherwise I wouldn't tell you." The boss told the truth. If Lu Song was a new Han Chinese, he would not say it. After all, if he said it, you would also go to buy fruits from other places, and everyone would come to buy them, and the competition would be fierce. If you fight a price war, you would not make much money. Lu Song has been in the fruit wholesale business for so many years, how could he not know? That's why he bought so many strawberries and emphasized that he was a foreigner. He quickly expressed his gratitude. Then Lu Song bought a map at a nearby store and found Xinjiang County. He also asked the locals how to get to Xinjiang County. Chang County. After a busy period, he arrived at Xinjiang County at 12 noon, where Xinghan Agricultural Company was located. Because of the lunch break, no one was there to receive him, so he had to wait until 2 p.m. after work to be received. "Hello, I am the marketing manager, Yuzha. I heard that you want to cooperate with us?" Hearing the words of the man in front of him, Lu Song nodded, and quickly took out his business card and handed it to the other party. "Hello, manager Yu, my name is Lu." "Longwa people?" Yuzha saw the business card, and his eyes were slightly surprised. "Yes." Lu Song nodded. "I am in the fruit business, mainly transporting fruits from Southeast Asian countries to Longwa for sale." "Understood." Yuzha smiled and said, "Mr. Lu, how do you want to cooperate?" "It's like this. I saw your strawberries, which are big and good. I want to wholesale a batch of goods to Longwa. I wonder how much it costs. Price? It depends on how much you want to buy. Yuzha smiled and said, if you buy less than 500 kilograms, it will be 420 yuan. If you buy 1,000 to 2,000 kilograms at a time, it will be 400 yuan per kilogram. If you buy more than 5,000 kilograms at a time, you can do 380 yuan per kilogram. This is the lowest price. There is no lower price. Lu Song quickly calculated in his mind how much he would have to sell to make a profit after he brought it back to Longhua, and how much market sales would be for such expensive fruits. Of course, these are all his estimates, based on his many years of experience. Then let's start with 5,000 kilograms. After thinking for a while, Lu Song said the number he estimated. He didn't dare to take too much. After all, the price of this strawberry is really expensive. I have never bought such expensive fruits before, so I am not sure. I am afraid that if I buy too much, I will lose money. And at the price of 380 yuan, Chinese yuan, per caddy, these 5,000 caddies will cost 1.9 million Chinese yuan, which is more than 5.8 million renminbi when converted into RMB, which has accounted for most of his cash flow. At the purchase price of 380 Chinese yuan, including transportation costs, labor costs, and advance payment risks, it must be sold at least 1,500 yuan, RMB, per caddy. Such a high price can only be supplied to the upper class. Hearing that Lu Song wanted to buy 5,000 caddies, Yuzha still admired him a little. After determining the price and quantity, Yuzha took Lu Song to visit the planting base. I saw a lot of bright and large strawberries, all the size of a fist. At a glance, there are at least hundreds of acres. According to what he saw, this plantation is probably worth billions of RMB. After signing the contract and agreeing to ship the goods the day after tomorrow, Lu Song immediately contacted the country. First, let the news go out to see if there are any wholesale orders. Then arrange logistics and storage, which were his normal business operations before. Previously, the imported fruits from Siam and Nanyang were not sold out in a day or two, and refrigerated cabinets were needed to extend the freshness of the fruits as much as possible. After everything was arranged, he found a logistics company in Xinhan and entrusted it to deliver this batch of goods to Longhua Yangcheng. It was transported by air. It would definitely not work by sea. It would take at least 2 days or even 3 days to transport from Xinhan to Guangdong. Strawberries don't have a long storage time like durian. The longer the delay, the greater the loss. Besides, it was the first time to deal with such expensive fruits, so caution is king. 2 days later, he came to Xinqing County and personally supervised the delivery of this batch of goods worth nearly 6 million yuan to the airport, and then he took a passenger plane back to Longhua Yangcheng. Longhua, Yinjing. Did you send me something? That day, Lu Tianxian returned home after finishing her filming work, and received a call from a courier. At first, she was a little curious because she didn't buy anything. When she saw that the courier came from overseas and was sent from Xinhan, she immediately guessed that it was from Xiao Yunhai. So, she called. Well, how is it? Did you receive the things? Xiao Yunhai put down the documents in his hand, relaxed his body, leaned on the sofa chair, and asked with a smile. I just received it and haven't opened it yet. Why did you think of sending something to me? And what is it that is so heavy? Good stuff, open it and you will know what it is. Hearing this, Lu Tianxian put down the phone in her hand, got up and found a knife, cut open the package and the phone box inside, and then there was an exquisitely packaged iron box. After opening the iron box with force. Is this a strawberry? Looking at the strawberry as big as a sandbag in front of her, Lu Tianxian's delicate face showed a look of surprise, and her mouth opened wide, with a look of astonishment. Yes, this is a kind of strawberry cultivated by an agricultural company under my control. It has a delicate, sweet, juicy taste and is very delicious. Moreover, eating more of this thing is good for the body and can slow down the aging of people. What, you said that this fruit can also slow down aging? Yes, this strawberry contains some beneficial molecules that can slow down aging. It just means that it can slow down aging, not that you can really become younger after eating it. Regarding strawberries, no, to be precise, genetic pesticides. In the process of cultivating fruits, researchers have discovered a factor that can slow down human aging. So, when he said that it can slow down aging, he was not lying, but just said that the effect is minimal. Hearing that it can slow down aging, these strawberries instantly became a hot commodity in Lu Tianxian's eyes. He immediately took one and rushed into the kitchen to wash it, and then returned to the sofa in the living room to eat a strawberry. Instantly, it felt half burst, and the strawberry juice filled the whole mouth, and flowed into the throat, and finally into the stomach. This strawberry has a lot of water, so sweet, and tastes like strawberry. It's delicious. She had eaten a lot of strawberries, including those that cost hundreds of yuan per pound, but in terms of taste, the strawberries in front of her were undoubtedly the best, and they really had the aroma of strawberries. Unlike other strawberries, saying they had the aroma of strawberries was just a description. The strawberries you cultivated are so delicious. Why don't you send more? After eating a strawberry, she felt a little full, and looked at the remaining 6 strawberries in the iron box, thinking it was too little. If you want to eat more, I'll send you more in a few days. I'll also send you some pineapples, cherries, kiwis, and durians, so you can eat as much as you want. Xiao Yunhai said with a smile. Lu Tianxian asked curiously, are these fruits you mentioned also new varieties cultivated by your company? Are they as delicious as strawberries? Well, they are new varieties cultivated. As for whether they are delicious or not, you will know when you eat them. Okay then. Lu Tianxian crossed her legs and looked at the gift box in front of her. She seemed to think of something. She opened her mouth slightly and said with a smile, you sent me a box of strawberries from a long distance. There must be something wrong. Tell me, do you want me to promote it for you? Look at what you said. I sent some delicious food to my own daughter. Why do you think it is so utilitarian in your mouth? You know, this is the first batch of strawberries on the market. I arranged for someone to send it to you as soon as possible. Your words are really sad. Lu Tianxian was very happy to hear that the strawberries were sent to her as soon as they were on the market, but it was not so easy to convince her. Don't give me that. I don't know you yet. Hearing that, Xiao Yunhai stopped quibbling and said with a smile, okay. As you think, when you have nothing to do, take some pictures, post them on Weibo and Moments, and promote it. Humph, the fox's tail is exposed, I said, you must be in trouble. For the sake of strawberries, this girl will not argue with you. Don't worry, I will post on Weibo later. By the way, how much is your strawberry box? How much is a box? I'm not sure. It seems that this kind of gift box in Xinhan sells for 1,200 Han Yuan for 2 kilograms. What? How much? Lu Tianxian thought she had heard it wrong. 1,200 Han Yuan, Xiao Yunhai repeated the price. Hiss. I was sure he had heard it right. Lu Tianxian took a breath. Shocked, your strawberries are too expensive, right? Who can afford them? 1,200 Han Yuan, converted into Longhua RMB, is more than 3,700 yuan. She has now paid more than 1 million yuan for a movie, more than 2 million yuan at best. That is to say, she made money from filming for a few months, and at most she could eat more than 500 boxes of strawberries packaged like this? And this price is still new Han. The dealers will definitely not sell them at this price in Longhua. Is it expensive? I think it's okay. These strawberries are better than those in the island country. Strawberries in the island country can be sold for hundreds of dollars each, and mine are only $100 or $200 per kilogram. I think it's quite affordable, and my strawberries can also slow down aging. Lu Tianxian shook her head, that's true, but, forget it, I don't understand the matter, so I won't say anything. I wanted to persuade them about the high price, but then I thought, I don't understand business, so I'd better not interrupt. The two chatted for a while, and after half an hour of long phone calls, they hung up the phone. Afterwards, Xiao Yunhai called Lu Shishir and Demimi and asked them to help post the information about strawberries on Weibo. The 3 women have more than 30 million Weibo fans in total. Even if half of them overlap, there are 15 million. This is more effective than advertising on TV. Just when Xiao Yunhai called the other 2 women, Lu Shuli also came back from outside and saw the strawberries on the table. She asked in surprise, is this a strawberry? Why are they so big? Where did they come from? She looked at her daughter curiously. Lu Tianxian said, Xiao Yunhai sent it. Xiao Hai sent it? Why did he think of sending this to you? Lu Shuli 370 said in silence. This is a new variety cultivated by an agricultural company under his control. It is said to be able to slow down aging. I think it is a bit exaggerated. Slow down aging? Lu Sholi's eyes lit up, and she reached out to take a strawberry, stood up, and walked to the kitchen while saying, Xiao Hai said so it must be effective. After quickly rinsing it, Lu Sholi took a bite and nodded, it tastes good. Looking at her mother who was eating it in big mouthfuls, Lu Tianxian smiled and said, Mom, do you know how much the strawberries in your hand cost? How much? A few yuan? Or more than 10 yuan? Lu Xiaoli disagreed. Lu Tianxian shook her head, not more than 10 yuan, but hundreds of yuan. What? How much? Hundreds of yuan? Looking at her mother, who was surprised when she heard the price, Lu Tianxian was very happy. Yes. He said that this box of 2 catty strawberries will be sold for 1,200 Han Yuan in Xinhan, which is more than 3,000 yuan in Longhua currency. There are 7 strawberries in total, so how much is one, not hundreds of yuan? XX. Lu Xiaoli was also shocked and couldn't speak at this moment. Looking at the strawberries in her hand, she spent dozens of yuan in one bite? My god, this thing is too expensive. Lu Xiaoli smacked her lips. She didn't dare to eat it. One strawberry costs hundreds of yuan. Even if a person with a net worth of tens of millions eats the strawberry, he still feels a little panic or reluctant. It's quite expensive, but it's really delicious. Lu Tianxian picked up her phone, took a picture of her legs in front of the gift box, and then uploaded it to Weibo, with a text, "A gift from a friend, with strawberries in it, it tastes good, but the price is too high." After the message was sent out, someone replied soon. And more people responded. Oh my god, is this a strawberry? Oh my god, this is the first time I've seen such a big strawberry. Goddess, where did you buy the fruit? It looks delicious. I want to eat it too. The news immediately sparked heated discussions and became a hot search. Hashtag Lu Tianxian recommends eating strawberries. Hashtag Lu Tianxian also calls the fruit expensive. The news quickly fermented on the internet under the promotion of some people. For a time, how expensive was the fruit that Lu Tianxian couldn't afford? Soon someone exposed the prices of strawberries and other new cultivated fruits. Everyone was shocked. 1 kilogram of strawberries costs thousands of yuan, which is simply a robbery. They complained that the price was too expensive. 1 month's salary can only buy 4 or 5 kilograms. Some complained that they could only buy more than 2 kilograms. However, after someone reported that this strawberry has the effect of slowing down aging, the sales volume has obviously increased a lot. The sales amount has not only not decreased, but also increased against the trend. It surprised many people who were ready to laugh at the joke. I can't understand why the situation that was so badly hit turned around. Episode 75. The People's Happiness Index rises, and genetically modified pesticides are open to the whole country. Reversal. And because the quantity in Longwei is very small. As a result, the high-priced strawberries are in short supply. Who has this kind of strawberry? Please give me enough. I just searched and we don't have it sold locally. I know a channel, if you want it, please PM me. I have sent a private message to the person above, please reply. Please reply, don't even mention a few thousand yuan per pound. As long as it works, I'd be willing to spend tens of thousands of yuan on it. In recent years, Longwei's economy has developed rapidly, giving birth to a large number of local tyrants and wealthy people. Especially in the Pearl River Delta and Yangtze River Delta regions. Rich people gather here. It's the same reason as the tea that costs thousands or tens of thousands of yuan per pound, and Mao Tai that costs thousands of yuan per bottle. Aren't they all hyped up? Things are precious because they are rare. What's more, it's said that this thing can slow down aging. Don't worry about whether it's true or not, just spend some money to buy it and try it. Yang Chang. Lu Song, who hasn't paid attention to the online events yet, is now contacting the people who used to wholesale with him through his own channels to see if they want the goods. At the same time, he is also using his dozen stores to contact outside sales. But when he quoted 1,500 yuan per kilogram, they were all scared away. The sales of the store were dismal. Seeing this, his wife began to complain that he didn't use his brain when purchasing the goods. How could such expensive strawberries be sold? After being scolded too much, Lu Song, who was in a bad mood, angrily said, "Shut up, what do you know?" "Okay, Mr. Lu, you dare to be mean to me? I gave birth to 3 children for you, and you are so heartless." Ding-dling-dling. Lu Song, who was in a bad mood, was about to lose his temper when his cell phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was one of his old customers. "Hello, brotherly, yes, and what, you want 200 kilograms? Okay, I'll send it to you right away." The woman who was throwing a tantrum asked hurriedly, "Honey, is there anyone who wants the goods?" Humph. Lu Song was proud and hummed, "Brotherly just called and asked for 200 kilograms. Woman, what do you know, are you still worried that it can't be sold?" The woman was stubborn and refused to admit defeat, "It's only 200 kilograms. You bought 5,000 kilograms, which is far from enough. Kr. Lu Song was about to speak when the phone rang again. "Hello? Sister Wu, strawberries?" "Yes, and more, how many do you want?" 250 kilograms? "Okay, no problem, I'll arrange for it to be delivered right away." After hanging up the phone, Lu Song looked at his woman with contempt. "Look, it's only been a short time, and 450 kilograms have been sold." The woman's face also changed to flattering. "You know, selling 1 kilogram of strawberries can make a net profit of 300 yuan. If all 5,000 kilograms are sold, it will be 1.5 million yuan. These 2 calls seem to be the beginning of a good fortune. Lu Song received calls from several bosses who had asked him to wholesale fruit. At the same time, more than a dozen stores under his control also received good news. The sky-high-priced fruit suddenly became a hot commodity with so many people wanting it. This inevitably made him curious. Honey, I checked it out. It's on Weibo. Some celebrities are promoting it. There are also rumors that this kind of strawberry can slow down people's aging. Aging? Lu Song curled his lips and thought it was just a gimmick. However, this is a good thing. The bigger the gimmick, the more people will be inspired to buy, the bigger the market will be, and his sky-high-priced fruits can be sold. However, it is obviously impossible for him to monopolize the business. After seeing the business opportunity, many fruit business owners went to Xinhan to purchase. At the same time, Xinhan Agricultural Company also began to exert its strength in the European and American markets. Invited some biomedical experts to make identifications. Then promoted the fruits launched by Xinhan Agricultural Company, which are rich in various substances needed by the human body. This is not a rumor made out of thin air. In fact, it has been detected that there is an ingredient that can slow down aging, but the amount is very small. Despite this, it still caused a sensation. As long as it is related to youth and aging, it has always been sought after by people. For Xinhan and Longwa and other developing countries, strawberries at $200 or $300 per kilogram are sky-high prices. But for European and American countries that earn euros and dollars, this price is not very cheap. For example, an Australian lobster costs $300 to $500, and staying in some luxury hotels costs thousands of dollars a night. A pound of strawberries costs $200 to $300, which is not unacceptable. Moreover, Europeans and Americans are different from Asians. They basically don't save money. They live paycheck to paycheck and spend money as they earn. Moreover, the fruits launched by Xinhan Agricultural Company are not only strawberries, but also cherries, kiwis, pineapples, etc., which cost tens of dollars per pound and $100 or $200 per pound. If you can't afford strawberries, you can buy other types of fruits from Xinhan Agricultural Company. They are all rich in many elements that are beneficial to the human body. Therefore, you can see cargo planes flying around the world. The world is not short of rich people, but what it lacks is things that make them feel superior. This is the same as luxury goods in Europe and the United States. The more expensive the things are, the more the rich like to buy them. It's just that in the past, the people who made this money were all Europeans and Americans, and this time it was replaced by Xinhan. Things change. With a large investment in advertising and marketing, the fruit sales of Xinhan Agricultural Company increased significantly, so that later, all kinds of fruits produced in this season were sold out. In order to further increase production, Xinhan Agricultural Company decided to expand production capacity and add another 2,000 employees. Of course, this is all later. The popularity of Xinhan fruit products, one caddy sold for $200 or $300, which made Siam, Annan, Java, and other countries very jealous. Their fruits, let alone $200 or $300. They didn't even sell for $20 or $30. They all wanted to raise prices to get a share, resulting in a sharp decline in sales. Others sold so expensively because of the variety, but what about you? You used to sell for a few dollars a caddy, but now you want to sell for dozens of dollars a caddy. You want nothing. Siam, Annan, and other countries, unwilling to fail, their fruit product merchants bought some, and then took them back to cultivate and plant them, but the hair didn't grow 10. Before launching the sky-high-priced fruit, Xiao Yunhai considered this problem. Only by using the genetic pesticides launched by Xinhan Agricultural Company can it grow so well and so big. If you cut half of the strawberry, or throw the seeds or cores of kiwi fruit into the soil, do you think you can grow as big and sweet as the fruit products launched by Xinhan Agricultural Company? It's just wishful thinking. After being slapped by reality, merchants from Siam, Annan, and other countries became more honest, and the old man sold them fruits for $1 or $2. After the fruit products became popular, Xiao Yunhai also came to Nanyang province in Xinjiang County to inspect Xinhan Agricultural Company. The temperature was suitable that day. The temperature of just 20 degrees made people feel very comfortable. A fleet of more than a dozen vehicles squatted in front of the office building of Xinhan Agricultural Company. More than 20 people including Xiao Yunhai, the Ministry of Agriculture, the governor of Hanyang province, and officials from Xinjiang County got off the car. Liang Bo came to greet them with the company's senior executives. Your Highness, welcome to visit I. Xiao Yunhai smiled and said, it's nice here, the environment is good, and the transportation is convenient. I just saw that many logistics refrigerated trucks are lined up. Are they here to pick up goods? Liang Bo, yes, Your Highness, these are all lined up. That's good, it means that your fruit business is doing very well. Good thing. Xiao Yunhai, let's go in and take a look. Liang Bo turned sideways and made a gesture of invitation. Your Highness, leaders, please come in. The group came to the service center. Monitoring room. Dozens of screens played pictures from different angles. The screen showed real-time shooting pictures of the park. Liang Bo said, "Your Highness, leaders, through this monitoring system, we can check the growth situation in real time, and we have an artificial intelligence system to analyze data based on soil, air, and moisture. Whether this area is dry, whether it needs watering, how much water to water, how much pesticide to spray, what pesticide to spray, when to pick, etc. are all required." Xiao Yunhai looked at the big screen and nodded. It's a bit like the smart farm used in American movies. It's pretty good. The combination of technology and agriculture is the main direction of future agricultural development. In addition, what is this area used for? Xiao Yunhai pointed to an area under construction on the hillside. Liang Bo looked at it and replied, "Your Highness, this is the second phase of the project." Phase 2? Yes. Liang Bo explained, "In view of the current market situation, we plan to expand, plant more fruit trees, and cultivate more fruits to meet market demand." Is it a bit aggressive? Xiao Yunhai asked. Fortunately, our management has analyzed that with the current market demand, our production capacity is still far from enough. Yes. Xiao Yunhai nodded. Can you tell me how much revenue you have achieved so far? Liang Bo smiled slightly. Your Highness, you are joking. It's not inconvenient. It has been on the market for more than half a month. The specific figures are unclear, but I have counted it before. The current revenue is 1.3 billion Han yuan. 1.3 billion, it only took more than half a month, not bad, very impressive. Xiao Yunhai nodded with satisfaction. It is better than he expected, because more than $400 million were sold in half a month. Of course, he also knows that this is the early stage of the listing when it became popular. Now the hype is strong. When the hype cools down, it will inevitably decline. Let's go to the garden and take a look. Xiao Yunhai still wanted to visit the site and take a look, even though he had seen it in the cultivation laboratory before. After a while, the group came to the kiwi fruit plantation and saw several uniformed staff members. Xiao Yunhai stopped two of them. After seeing Xiao Yunhai, the two also saluted with encouragement. Waving his hand, Xiao Yunhai asked, "How is it, do you think it's good to work here?" "It's good, here we provide food and accommodation, and the salary is high. Except for occasional overtime, we basically get off work on time, and we get overtime pay after work. I like this job very much. It's easier than farming before, and I get more money. The company also spends money to buy commercial insurance for us. The money I get every month is about the same as the salary of my kid." Xiao Yunhai said in a joking tone, "Are you talking to me because you see me coming to inspect?" "No, Your Highness, this job is really good. I can get 2,200 yuan a month. I'm almost 50 years old. Whether I work outside or farm, I can't earn so much. Moreover, the company is very humane and often pays money on holidays. Yes, Your Highness, we are not lying. It's really good. I am happy at work, and the company never forces overtime." Seeing the two people rushing to explain, Xiao Yunhai nodded slightly. 2,200 Han yuan, now the exchange rate has risen. Converted into Dragon Country currency, it is almost 7,000 yuan. This income is about the same as the monthly salary of some office workers in some companies. It is only 300 yuan less than the salary of ordinary civil servants. This is when the civil servant's salary increases. Before the increase, it was not so much. Okay, as long as you are happy at work. Xiao Yunhai said with satisfaction. Isn't what he does to make the people live a good life? Now a woman who is almost 50 years old can get 2,200 Han yuan. How many countries can do this? And pay commercial insurance. 2,200 Han yuan. If one person uses it, it is more than enough in Xinhan. Unless you buy luxury fruits like Xinhan Agricultural Company, there will be surplus for normal consumption. After chatting with the two for a while, the group continued to visit. Xiao Yunhai praised, "This orchard production base model is very well done. The people are happy to work, which shows that Mr. Liang, you have done a good job." Liang Bo smiled and said, "This is what we should do. The workers have made efforts, and they should get enough rewards." You said it well, but unfortunately many people can't do it. Xiao Yunhai sighed. By the way, I heard that your company is still researching pesticides? Yes, Your Highness, the pesticides used in our orchard products are all researched by our company. They are non-toxic and harmless and beneficial to agricultural production. Is it only effective for fruits? Or is it useful for all agriculture, such as rice? Yes. That's good, don't hide good things. I suggest that your company can consider supplying pesticides to the people across the country, Xiao Hao. Don't hide good things, so that the people engaged in agriculture can also enjoy this dividend. Your Highness is right. Our company does have this plan, and it is still being perfected. Yes. After saying so much and acting in front of everyone, the main purpose is to supply pesticides to the people across the country. Minister Zhou. The Minister of Agriculture, who was accompanying the inspection, hurried forward upon hearing this, Your Highness. Yes, I just communicated with Mr. Liang. The pesticides developed by their company are very good and have a great effect on the growth of grains. They will be willing to sell this pesticide to the people across the country. In order to protect the interests of the people and safeguard the interests of the country, I hope the Ministry of Agriculture will pay attention to this matter. At the same time, it also prevents people from reselling this pesticide abroad, so I suggest that your Ministry of Agriculture communicate with the Customs Department to ensure that this pesticide is not circulated overseas. At the end, Xiao Yunhai looked very serious. It is impossible to absolutely prevent circulation. There will definitely be people smuggling. After all, as long as there is profit, there will be people who have crooked ideas. Small-scale smuggling is not a big problem. As long as it is not circulated on a large scale, thus affecting the income of the people. As for whether the pesticide will affect the sales of fruit products of Xinghan Agricultural Company after it is circulated, the problem will not be too big. The reason why Xinghan strawberries, durians, and watermelons are so good is that the research institute recombines and cultivates the genes of the seeds. So, it is useless to just get the pesticide. Of course, using Xinghan's pesticides is definitely better than other pesticides, and it has a certain improvement effect on the original agricultural products. Hearing this, the Minister of Agriculture hurriedly said, Please rest assured, Your Highness, the Ministry of Agriculture will set up a special department to cooperate with the customs to crack down on smuggling in this regard. Well, this matter must be kept in mind and must not be sloppy. Xiao Yunhai said in a deep voice. Minister of Agriculture, yes. Episode 76. The annual GDP is announced. Complete the task and get the system reward. Take off. Seeing that his goal had been achieved, Xiao Yunhai did not stay for too long. Late December. Chang'an, an Air Force base. Many people came. The 24-60 million Mauritanian Ugias Black Hawk helicopters and many spare parts ordered from Sikorsky Corporation of the United States were delivered today. As the person in charge of military equipment procurement, Xiao Yunhai naturally attended today's Wutian acceptance ceremony. At this time, at the airport in the military base, there were dense helicopters in the sky, a large black mass. Many people living around the base were very curious. Curious whether a military exercise was being conducted. Some sharp-eyed people recognized that the helicopter flying in the sky was a Black Hawk, and immediately thought of the fact that the country had purchased 24 helicopters from the United States, and hurriedly said that this was the delivery of armed helicopters. At this time, inside the base, the commander of the Air Force, who was responsible for receiving this batch of helicopters on the ground, said excitedly, Your Highness, with the arrival of this batch of helicopters, our Xinghan's land-air coordinated operations, battlefield support, and transportation and delivery capabilities will be greatly enhanced. Looking at the excited Air Force commander, Xiao Yunhai smiled and said, Commander Huang, this batch of weapons and equipment has arrived, and we must also speed up training to form combat effectiveness as soon as possible. In addition, the land-air coordinated operations you just mentioned are our weaknesses. In the past, the conditions were limited. Now that we have helicopters, we should still strengthen airborne operations behind enemy lines and special operations. Of course, it is also necessary to strengthen the three-dimensional operations of the army. Huang Jinxing put away his smile when he heard this, and nodded seriously, Please rest assured, Your Highness, my Air Force will not fail its mission. At this time, more than 20 helicopters had landed in the parking area. Xiao Yunhai smiled and said, Go, your equipment has arrived. Huang Jinxing saluted, and then took his men to inspect and accept. At the same time, the parts were also transported to the base by truck. Although these 24 helicopters are arranged in 2 columns, it looks like a lot, but Xiao Yunhai feels that they are a bit thin. Watch the US military movies, the helicopters are a large black mass. Although we often blame the Americans, we are also envious. Hope that our country can be so powerful one day. Xiao Yunhai thinks that sooner or later he will see this kind of scene in Xinghan. You know, he is a man with a golden finger. With the system, why worry about big things not being accomplished? After the United States delivered 24 Black Hawk helicopters, the Air Force immediately invested in intensive training after taking over, so as to form combat effectiveness as soon as possible. Time flies, and another half-month 423 has passed. There are not many days left before the Spring Festival and the New Year. It's time to take stock of the year again. On this day, Xiao Hongjing held a cabinet meeting. Compared with last year, the participants this year all had smiles on their faces. As the king, Xiao Hongjing was actually in a semi-retired state, handing over the power to his son, Xiao Yunhai. Xiao Yunhai made many decisions on major issues. After setting the tone, Wu Senyuan of the National Bureau of Statistics reported the economic situation for the whole year. In 2010, the national economy showed a rapid growth trend, and it was promoted by high-quality development. It showed an unprecedented explosive trend in medical care, oil exports, agriculture, tourism, and service industries. In 2010, the national GDP reached 931.5 billion Han yuan, an increase of 483.8 billion Han yuan over the previous year. According to the annual average exchange rate, 2.6 Han yuan equals $1, the annual GDP was 358.269 billion US dollars, a year-on-year increase of 161% in US dollars, among which the pharmaceutical industry, oil, and service industries drove the economy more significantly. The pharmaceutical industry, thanks to Jimin Pharmaceutical Company, has created a new high in my country's exports in the pharmaceutical field. Various drugs are sold well around the world. Jimin Pharmaceutical alone exported drugs worth 147.4 billion Han yuan throughout the year, making a significant contribution to economic growth. Contribution. The service industry has benefited from the economic development of Labuan City and the booming tourism industry in Bangui Island, North Sea, and other regions, which has injected vitality into the economy. For Labuan City, relying on spinach and ports, it has doubled the growth of the local service industry. The GDP of Labuan City alone has reached 23.5 billion yuan. In the oil industry, with the exploitation of coastal oil fields in Jeddah Bay and Jiangdu County, our country has not only achieved independence in oil energy, but also created huge foreign revenue. According to the Royal Petroleum Company of New Han, last year's exports of crude oil reached 813 million barrels and realized foreign exchange revenue of 57.3 billion US dollars. In agriculture, thanks to the growth of fruit product prices, the development of the domestic fruit industry has been driven, and the sales channel to Longhua has been opened. It is expected that the agricultural growth trend will be good next year. Conference room. When Wu Senyuan read out each number, everyone's face showed a happy expression. After all, the rapid economic growth of New Han is also due to their contribution. And as a New Han person, seeing the national economy take off, GDP has doubled, and I am proud of it. Xiao Yunhai was very calm. The economic boom of New Han has a direct relationship with him. After all, most of the enterprises that drive economic growth are controlled by him, or they are royal industries. Although the specific figures of the operating conditions of each company are not very clear, they are generally clear. There is no doubt that the oil and pharmaceutical industries have become the pillars of New Han's economy. It can be said that these two industries have built the engine of New Han's economic growth. The two industries add up to more than 300 billion Han yuan, close to 30% of the national GDP. From this, we can imagine the importance of the two industries. The growth of the service industry is also within his expectations. Take Labuan City as an example. The opening of the gaming industry has attracted gaming companies to invest. Several companies have invested billions of dollars in the construction of hotels. And after the construction is completed, the tourists attracted will drive the local food, drink, entertainment, accommodation, and transportation. After the whole process, everyone will spend at least a few $1,000s. This is still a microcosm. Moreover, Labuan's economic growth has not yet reached the point of takeoff. Next year, all hotels will be completed and put into use. The gambling companies spent so much money on investment and construction, and they will definitely try every possible way to attract people to come and play. So the economy of Labuan will enter a high-speed development in the next 2 years. Similarly, with the development of Bangui Island, multiple theme parks will be put into use next year, further driving the development of the regional economy and tourism service industry. And as the income of the local people increases, demand-based consumption will gradually increase. In the conference room. When Wu Senyuan finished speaking, the venue rang with dense applause. I thought the economy would explode this year, but I didn't expect it to grow so much, doubled. My God, looking at the world, we are probably the only one in the world to grow like this. The pharmaceutical industry is too fierce, and His Royal Highness the Crown Prince is too powerful. He has single-handedly built an economic pillar, and the profits of the pharmaceutical industry are huge profits. In the past 2 years, the economy has developed too fast. If it were 2 years ago, I would not have dared to think about it. Yes. Otherwise, I would say that His Royal Highness the Crown Prince is an expert in economics. You see, after the Crown Prince returned to China, he has done one thing after another, first medicine, then tourism, energy, and now the military industry has also achieved remarkable results. It can be said that it has blossomed in all aspects. Having such a Crown Prince is a blessing for my Xinhan. If this situation continues, I think our economic level will reach the level of developed countries next year. That's for sure. According to this year's GDP, our current per capita GDP should have reached $19,900, which is only one step away from the per capita GDP standard of developed countries. At this moment, the words "the future is promising" echoed in everyone's mind in the conference room. Xiao Yunhai, who was sitting in the main seat, was also full of joy at this moment. He didn't expect the economic growth rate to be so high in 2010. Although he knew that the oil income industry would definitely drive the rapid growth of the national economy. But the scale of the pharmaceutical industry engaged in by his son is actually on par with oil. Thinking of his previous visit to the Military Research Institute, Xiao Yunhai's heart was surging at the moment. How could he not be excited that Xinjiang would become a developed country in the world in his hands? Then, Xiao Yunhai and Xiao Yunhai summarized and affirmed the achievements made last year, and hoped that all departments would continue to work hard. Emphasized that the development of the economy was the core, the enhancement of people's welfare was the primary priority, and the comprehensive promotion of Xinjiang towards high-quality development. After drawing a perfect end to last year, it was the turn of the Ministry of Finance to announce the government's revenue and expenditure, as well as the New Year's budget. Everyone in the cabinet was in high spirits, and everyone hoped that their department could get more budget. CI, Minister Li, tell me about the government's financial situation. Li Tianlin, who was called by name, nodded, turned over the documents in front of him, reached out and put the microphone in front of him a little deeper, and then spoke with full energy and a calm tone. In 2010, the national fiscal revenue was 195.3 billion Han yuan, of which oil profit received 33 billion. Among them, corporate tax increased significantly, reaching 47.2 billion Han yuan. Personal income tax is 29.62 billion Han yuan. Consumption tax is 23.27 billion Han yuan. Other taxes are 5.93 billion Han yuan. The annual fiscal expenditure is about 102.6 billion Han yuan, and the debt to be repaid is 30.5 billion US dollars. The current annual fiscal surplus is 92.7 billion Han yuan. The so-called 30.5 billion US dollar debt. It is mainly to borrow 20 billion US dollars of foreign debt from Longwa and to purchase 10.5 billion US dollars of naval vessels from Longwa. The latter 10.5 billion US dollars will be paid in 3 installments. The first 4 billion US dollars of debt was advanced by the royal family, and the subsequent 6.5 billion US dollars was also the same. But this money is not a donation. Instead, the royal family provided an interest-free loan to the government. In simple terms, the royal family lent money to the government, not a gift, so it is said to be a debt. Although the Xiao family is the new Han royal family, it cannot keep transfusing blood. If it keeps transfusing blood, even the richest royal family will be drained. In Xiao Yunhai's mind, his positioning of the royal family is to provide a bottom line. Guarantee the government. Ensure that the country will not go bankrupt. $30.5 billion in debt. $20 billion of which is foreign debt. In some countries, such as Bangladesh and Sri Lanka in South Asia, they would probably declare bankruptcy. But for the rapidly developing New Korea, this amount of money is not enough to bankrupt the country. As long as there is oil as a guarantee, it is difficult to go bankrupt unless it owes hundreds of billions of dollars. Due to the economic boom in oil and medical care this year, the growth rate may decline next year. In addition, based on the growth of agriculture and service industries, our department, after comprehensive consideration of various aspects, predicts that the fiscal revenue in 2011 will be 230 billion yuan, mainly composed of petrochemicals, pharmaceuticals, agriculture, tourism services, culture and entertainment. Among them, the revenue of the petrochemical industry is expected to be 35 billion yuan, and medical. Pharmaceuticals, corporate tax increased to 51 billion yuan, and personal income tax increased to 320 billion yuan. This year, we must not increase the estimated fiscal revenue as high as last year. After all, the possibility of rapid growth in the oil and medical industries is very low. It is estimated that it is good to be able to stabilize this income for a period of time. Of course, industries such as petrochemicals, agriculture, tourism, and cultural entertainment are future growth points. This is what many people think. In Xiao Yunhai's mind, there are 2 more. Drones, mobile phone smart industries, automobile industries, and game industries will be one of the important growth outbreak points next year. Of course, the plastic surgery industry and agriculture will be further strengthened. The plastic surgery industry has great potential. Just for the current opening of a plastic surgery hospital, Xiao Yunhai looked at the income report and found that the revenue in a few months reached more than 700 million yuan. This is still at present. In the next few years, the market size of the plastic surgery industry will become larger and larger. He does not have high requirements. In this subsegment, Xinhan can occupy 1/10 of the scale, that is, 500 million or 600 million US dollars. But the smartphone industry, this market size is very large. Must get a share. He personally predicts that GDP should be able to reach 1.3 trillion yuan next year. Whether it can be achieved depends mainly on smartphones, drones, simultaneous interpretation and other products and the automotive industry. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the novice task and doubling the per capita GDP task. Ding, congratulations to the host for winning 2 billion points. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining hundreds of tumor formulas and pharmaceutical processes for treating solid tumors, blood tumors, etc. Xiao Yunhai? Good guy. He was still thinking that after the meeting, he would ask the system why there was no prompt to complete the novice task. Now it is prompted. TSK. Cancer formula. This is taking off. Xiao Yunhai felt that he had predicted a GDP of 1.3 trillion Han yuan before. It can be increased appropriately. Yeah. Not much increase by 200 billion, increase to 1.5 trillion Han yuan. Xiao Yunhai thinks it is not a problem. Cancer. Or solid tumors and blood tumors. Basically, all types of cancer are covered. The number of people who get cancer every year in the world is as high as tens of millions. Millions of people die. How big this market is, you can't imagine. And cancer is different from other diseases. This thing will kill people. And all beings are equal. Whether you are a rich man or a commoner, you may get it. And cancer is a world problem, and no one has conquered it until now. Before he was reborn, that is, more than 10 years later, cancer was still a difficult disease that troubled the world. For this disease, as long as it can be cured, many people are willing to go bankrupt. The premise is that it can be cured. So there are people who are willing to spend the most money. Ding, start the main task of strengthening the country. Please complete the national GDP in the top 10 in the world within 10 years. The system will issue rewards based on the host's completion degree? Do you want to receive it? Listen to the prompt in your mind. Interesting, rewards based on completion? Enter the top 10 in the world in 10 years? Xiao Yunhai felt that it was not difficult. The drug for treating tumors that was just rewarded is enough to take off. Without any hesitation, Xiao Yunhai chose to take the task. If he still can't enter the top 10 in 10 years, Xiao Yunhai thinks he will just find a wall and die directly. Xiao Yunhai suppressed his excitement and joy as the Ministry of Finance announced the fiscal budget for next year. However, his mind kept echoing how to maximize profits by treating tumors. Moreover, how to reduce the covetousness of the outside world. It is said that a man is guilty of possessing a treasure even if he is innocent. Possessing cancer treatment drugs is more attractive than oil. Without sufficient strength, it is difficult to protect it. Therefore, it is best to find some simpler and less fatal cancers to make money in the early stage. Episode 77. Global Attention, the second developed country in Southeast Asia. After multiple communications and audits, the fiscal budget after the new year is announced as follows. The Ministry of Health's expenditure budget is 19.1 billion yuan, which will be used to further improve the medical and health system, ensure the improvement of medical hardware facilities in townships, and ensure that every citizen can enjoy national medical care. The Ministry of Education's expenditure budget is 14.7 billion yuan, an increase of 2.5 billion yuan over last year. The additional part is mainly used for rural areas, education subsidies, and the construction of 2 new universities to accelerate the high-quality development of education and cultivate outstanding talents and social technical talents. The Ministry of National Defense's expenditure budget is 19.5 billion yuan, a slight decrease from last year. The Ministry of Transportation's expenditure budget is 11.2 billion yuan. The special transfer expenditure budget is 2.9 billion yuan. Loan repayment expenditure is 7.2 billion yuan. Annual budget the expenditure is 139.7 billion Han yuan, and the estimated fiscal surplus is 9 billion yuan. This budget expenditure is very low. It can also be said that the Ministry of Finance tends to be conservative when formulating the budget. Of course, they are not like Xiao Yunhai, who is a reborn person and does not have a golden finger. Under the current situation, it is not a mistake to formulate a conservative budget expenditure. And there is also a foreign debt of 30.5 billion US dollars. Take this budget, there is a loan repayment item in it, which is used to repay the debt. Although they are all interest-free loans, the principal must be repaid after all. Saving fiscal expenditure is also to pay off the debt as soon as possible so that you can move forward lightly. The specific expenditures are as follows. Among them, the transfer expenditure budget will return the personal income tax paid by low-income people, that is, adults with an annual income of less than 20,000 Han yuan. In addition, in order to encourage outstanding entrepreneurial enterprises and reduce the burden of business operations, enterprises that pay and declare on time will be given a corporate tax refund of no more than 1 million Han yuan for each enterprise to support enterprise development. The fiscal budget is very detailed, implementing changes in corporate taxes, personal tax refunds, talent selection policies, and providing assistance to families in poor areas, implementing the core of enhancing the welfare of the people. From this point, it can be seen that this is when the budget was formulated, many aspects were considered, and it also reflects from the side that the new Han government has money in its hands and pockets, so it can spend it boldly and safely. Xiao Yunhai has no opinion on this fiscal expenditure. It is not a small amount. 139.7 billion Han yuan, converted into RMB, is about 430 billion yuan. Fiscal expenditure almost catching up with Lion City. In addition, the growth of military expenditure is not obvious, only 19.5 billion Han yuan. It is a few hundred million lower than last year, but considering the current appreciation of the Han yuan exchange rate, it is actually higher than last year's fiscal expenditure. And last year, a lot of weapons had to be purchased to have such a large expenditure. This year's focus is on building airports, and there are plans to replace some weapons for the army. In a word, the military expenditure of 19.5 billion Han yuan is more than enough. Do you have any opinions on this budget expenditure? After speaking, Xiao Hongjing looked at everyone in the conference room. Seeing that everyone, including Xiao Yunhai, shook their heads and said they had no objection, Xiao Hongjing said, "Since everyone has no objection, then this budget plan will be passed and the next topic will be carried out." The meeting lasted for 2 days before it came to an end. The next day, the contents of the meeting were exposed one after another. When countless netizens saw the fiscal revenue, expenditure and budget situation disclosed by Xinhan, everyone was shocked. F***K, this economic data, it blinded my titanium alloy eyes. The economy doubled in 1 year, my god, this is too strong. Awesome, it's hard to believe. In the past, countries with 10% growth were already very impressive, and now it has doubled, too strong. When the economic and fiscal revenue of Xinhan was reported to Longhua, it caused an uproar. Is this fake? Is the economy of Xinhan so strong? Oh my god, $358.2 billion US. The population is only more than 17 million, the per capita GDP is 21,000 yuan? It is 7,000 US higher than our strongest city, Magic City. Too strong. I remember that 2 years ago, the per capita GDP of Xinhan was only about 5,000 US. In 2 years, it has soared to 20,000? This development speed is too fast. It has entered the per capita GDP of developed countries in 2 years. I used to think that our country was growing very fast, but compared with Xinhan, I suddenly felt that there was no growth. Although it's hard to believe, it's not surprising if you think about it carefully. They have oil, which alone sells more than 50 billion US dollars a year. They also have the medical industry. Xinhan's medical industry is very strong. These two industries form the economic pillars of Xinhan. Oh, I'm so envious. They can make so much money every year by selling oil. No way, who asked God to give them food to eat? Xinhan's economic growth is so fast, is it easy to make money? Are there brothers working in Xinhan? Tell me if it's easy to make money? Very good, much better than in China. Brother upstairs, what do you do in Xinhan? Work in a supermarket. Supermarket? How much a month? 2,000 Chinese yuan a month, according to the current exchange rate, it's about 7,000 yuan. Wow! Being a supermarket waiter is so high? I'm so envious. I'm a supermarket waiter. I work in a supermarket in China. I work 6 days a week, and it's 12 hours. I only make 4,500 yuan a month. This is in a second-tier city, and there are no 5 social insurances and 1 housing fund. I envy you so much, brother. It's okay. The salary of Xinhan has increased rapidly in the past 2 years. It was 1,500 yuan a month before. But there is no coupon like in China. The legal requirement here is 8 hours of working time. If it exceeds the time, overtime pay must be paid. And all enterprises, institutions and individual business owners must pay insurance for employees as long as they employ employees. If you don't pay insurance and overtime pay, you can go to the local industrial and commercial department for help. They will punish the employer immediately. Wow, so good? I'm so envious. The industrial and commercial departments in our country are just sitting in the office, and there are also shitty trade unions that don't speak for Liren at all. I'm so envious of brother, is there any way? I also want to work at Sun Hung Kai Properties. Yes, brother above, is there any channel? This doesn't require a channel. Now there is no visa exemption. As long as there is a company willing to hire you during the visa exemption period, you can convert the employment contract into a work visa, and then you can stay at Sun Hung Kai Properties for 1 year. If the employer is willing to continue to employ you, you can renew the visa at that time. It's very convenient, more convenient than going to European and American countries. Brother above, thank you so much. I decided to quit my job after the new year and work at Sun Hung Kai Properties. Support +1, the domestic situation is too competitive. When people continued to expose the working conditions in Xinhan, countless Longhua workers envied them. We are all human beings, why do you live so well? Also, isn't it said that hard work leads to wealth? Why do I get up earlier than the chickens, sleep later than the dogs, and eat worse than the pigs? Damn it, I don't care about the benefits. At this moment, many young people in Longhua are planning to go out and make a living. Anyway, they are living such a miserable life, even if they fail, it won't be worse than this. Not only are people in Longhua shocked by Xinhan's economy, but the whole world is surprised. Some media even commented that Xinhan is the country with the fastest economic growth rate at present. It is very likely to become the second developed country in Southeast Asia. The first is naturally Singapore. As for Brunei, although the per capita GDP is high, it is only rich countries. Because of the single economic structure, the economy is highly dependent on oil and natural gas, and cannot constitute a developed country. But Xinhan is different. Xinhan has the world's top medical care. Agriculture and tourism services are also growing rapidly. Moreover, the service industry, that is, the tertiary industry, accounts for 45% of the economy. It is also vigorously promoting the development of the cultural tourism industry. Given time, it may not be impossible to enter the ranks of developed countries. Xinhan's dazzling economic achievements have also made many companies begin to understand Xinhan, a small Southeast Asian country. Knowing this effect, the population is more than 17 million, and the tax paid by the company is only 20%. Such a low tax rate has made many companies interested in doing business in Southeast Asia plan to set up their companies in Xinhan. Compared with other Southeast Asian countries, Xinhan has several advantages. The political situation is stable. The state intervenes less in the economy and the marketization is high. Except for a few industries that are monopolized, the rest can be involved, and foreign-funded enterprises can also be wholly owned. A good business environment and a sound rule of law society. The corporate tax rate is low. Although it is a little higher than that of Singapore, Xinhan has a larger population, more than 3 times more. Moreover, Xinhan has signed an economic and trade cooperation agreement with Longhua. Some products exported from Xinhan to Longhua are tax-free, which is not available in Singapore. These points alone are enough to attract many companies to invest in Xinhan. For example, Intel, SK Semiconductor, Samsung and other companies have considered setting up factories in Xinhan. Not to mention Taiwan. Since the 1960s, Taiwan and Xinhan have carried out in-depth cooperation at the economic level. A large number of Taiwanese companies have invested in Xinhan. It can be expected that Xinhan's economy will usher in an explosion in the future. January 10, 2011. Apple's acting CEO Cook visited Xinhan at the invitation of Xiao Yunhai. On the same day, Xiao Yunhai met Cook in the palace and emphasized that he hoped Apple could reach a closer cooperation with Xinhan. He hoped that Apple would increase its investment in Xinhan. For example, setting up the Apple Southeast Asia Service Center in Xinhan and promoting the establishment of Apple's industrial chain in Xinhan. In addition, Xiao Yunhai also took Cook to visit Xinhai Battery Company, Ltd. He went directly into the product department. He asked someone to bring a small piece of graphene black gold battery specially produced for mobile phones. Graphene battery? When Cook heard that the material was graphene, he was shocked. You know, graphene is a thing with complex technology and extremely high production difficulty, which makes it very expensive. Mr. Su, please introduce the advantages of your battery to Mr. Cook. Xiao Yunhai smiled and gestured to let Su Rui, CEO of Xinhai Battery and Xinhai Technology, introduce the products. This visit to Xinhai Battery Company was largely to hope that Xinhai Battery would enter Apple's supply chain. In this way, relying on Apple's supply chain, it is still no problem to sell a battery business of several hundred million Han yuan a year. Please give me flowers. Okay, Your Highness. Su Rui nodded, took 2 steps forward, walked to the front of the product, and smiled at Cook. Mr. Cook, this is a new material battery developed by our company, which uses some graphene materials. Its energy density far exceeds that of lithium batteries. The battery in front of you is our black gold Ruilong battery, with an energy density of 800 Wh and a cycle number of 3000 times. Its price is only 2/3 more expensive than the lithium battery on the market. If your company can use our battery, I believe the user experience will be better. The so-called black gold Ruilong battery is actually a weakened version. According to different material ratios, the number of cycles and graphene materials are reduced. The purpose of this is to reduce the cost price. If the cost is too high, people can't afford it. And for consumer electronics, especially the mobile phone industry, Guangchang actually doesn't want users to use a mobile phone for 5 or 6 years. They hope that users will replace their phones frequently so that they can make more money. Just like a light bulb, manufacturers hope that a light bulb can be lit for 1,000 hours. As a result, you made a light bulb that can be lit for 10,000 hours, which greatly reduced the frequency of user replacement. Without demand, the market is saturated, and the company has no income. In the end, won't the company go bankrupt? If a company wants to sell its products well and make a lot of money, the product must be flawed or not so perfect. It is precisely because of this problem that Xiao Yunhai hopes to develop a low-configuration battery for the current market after communicating with Su Rue. As for high-performance batteries, they are used in special fields, such as new energy vehicles. 0. Nanko was very interested when he heard that the price was only 2/3 higher than that of lithium batteries, but the performance was several times better than that of lithium batteries. He told Apple about the battery specifications currently used. Su Rue quickly calculated in his mind and then quoted, "If we use our company's batteries according to Mr. Cook's specifications, the price of each battery will be about $36." Hearing this, Cook showed a satisfied look. The current purchase price of Apple's mobile phone lithium battery is $24. If it is $12 more, the battery performance can be improved by one level, and the battery capacity can be increased to 2000 mAh. The number of battery cycles will increase. As for the increased cost, customers can share it. Anyway, the increased cost is not too high. Good. Your Highness, this company's battery technology is very good. If the price can be lower, we, Apple, will be happy to cooperate with this company in your country, Cook said with a smile. Hearing this, Xiao Yunhai also smiled and said, "Mr. Cook is right. This company is indeed excellent in the field of batteries, just like your company's mobile phones, which can make people amazed. Because of this, it is normal that the price is a little higher. As I said before, a good mobile phone should be equipped with a good battery. I believe that your company's products, combined with Shanghai Battery Company's products, will definitely be loved by more customers. Want to lower the purchase price? No way. This is already cheap. Selling for $36, the production cost reaches $17, which is not much profit. In addition, workers' wages will rise in the future, and after joining the Apple supply chain, it is estimated that it will be difficult to increase the purchase price of batteries. Apple may have very strict control over the purchase price of the supply chain. So, it is better to raise the price first. Perhaps because he really likes the Shanghai battery, Cook finally did not talk about the price reduction issue, but only said that he would report to the CEO, Jobs, and try his best to promote Apple to purchase the battery of Shanghai Battery Company. Even if you don't look at the battery, you have to look at the face of the major shareholder. You must know that the entire Shinhan royal family, including his Oasis Capital, holds 21.8% of Apple's shares, which is a major shareholder, and even the largest shareholder on the surface. Xiao Yunhai is very satisfied with Cook's attitude. Asked Jobs. With the attitude of pursuing the ultimate product, after knowing that there is a better battery, who will definitely agree to purchase the battery of Shanghai Company. But Cook is different. Cook is more concerned about the interests of the company, rather than from the perspective of the product. There are still differences between the two generations of CEO. As expected, on the 7th day after visiting Shanghai Battery Company, Cook received good news. Apple decided to use Shanghai's batteries for the new products to be released this year. And plans to invest in Shinhan, and let component suppliers invest and set up factories in Shinhan. Yes. Xiao Yunhai was very happy. Don't underestimate the impact of a company on the economy. With Apple's call, many suppliers, such as Foxconn, will increase their investment in Shinhan. There are also companies in the relevant industrial chain, which have also rushed to Shinhan to set up factories. There is no way this is the influence of Party A. As long as the brand influence is formed, there is no need to worry about the lack of suppliers. Suppliers are different. Once they lose Apple, their profits will immediately decline. Otherwise, when Apple wants to transfer its production capacity to Baixiang country, its companies in Apple's supply chain will invest in Baixiang. Episode 78. Year-end meeting, the royal enterprise becomes more powerful. On January 23, Xiao Yunhai held a corporate meeting in the palace. All his companies were gathered together, so that he could understand the development of his companies. The participants included Shanghai and other companies, including Jimin Pharmaceutical, Shilin Company, Bangji Island Development Company, Dream Chaser Film and Television, Cheyenne Yusei Beverage Company and Oasis Investment. Looking at the people in the conference room, Xiao Yunhai smiled and said, "Everyone has worked hard in the past year. You have made great contributions to the current situation of Xinhan. Here, I would like to thank you." After speaking, Xiao Yunhai stood up, bowed, and saluted to everyone. Although many of them are dead men are also people and have feelings. At least respect should be given to them, which is also convenient for them to work hard. Hearing this, everyone hurriedly stood up. "Your Highness is too polite. We don't need your Highness to do this for our classification." Xiao Yunhai smiled and said, "You are polite. You are all pillars of my Xinhan. Please take a seat quickly." He raised his hand to signal everyone to take a seat. After sitting down, he said, "Today, I gathered everyone to understand the development of each company and discuss future development. Well, let's start with Jimin Pharmaceutical Company." Xiao Yunhai looked at Lu Lin and said. The latter stood up quickly after hearing this. Xiao 787 Yunhai said, "Sit down and talk. Everyone should relax today. There is no need to say polite words. Just treat it as communication." "Yes." Everyone responded in unison. Lu Lin also sat back in his seat. Jimin Pharmaceutical currently has 5 products on the market, including Kingyingden weight loss pills, Fingxi breast enhancement pills, whitening liquid, and acne and freckle removal products. The annual sales of medicines are 147.4 billion Han yuan, which has doubled several times year on year. It is expected that the market will expand further after the new year. In addition to these drugs that enhance male length and long-lasting drugs similar to Viagra are currently under development. In addition, the eyeglass vision repair medicine, such as the liquid used for myopia in young people and presbyopia in the elderly, has also entered clinical trials and is expected to be officially launched in the second quarter. As for funds, the cash flow on the account has reached 132 billion Han yuan, and the cash flow is very abundant. Hiss. Everyone took a breath. They were all shocked by the terrifying ability of Jimin Pharmaceutical Company to make money. Sure enough, the pharmaceutical industry is a huge profit. Especially pharmaceutical companies with exclusive products. It's a steal. Xiao Yunhai was quite calm. The pharmaceutical industry is like this. High investment in research and development in the early stage. As long as the research and development is successful, the follow-up is like stealing money. After all, the cost of pharmaceutical production is very few. The difficulty of a drug lies in the investment in the research and development stage. Like Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer and other pharmaceutical giants, which one does not spend tens of billions of dollars on research and development every year? Jimin did not spend too much money, because they had Xiao Yunhai, a hanging guy, to endorse them, so they could make rapid progress. Jimin has done a good job here, and you can keep up the good work. In addition, with so much money lying in the company's account, have you ever thought about using it, such as acquiring companies in the pharmaceutical industry, especially medical companies, such as Siemens Medical, Medtronic and other types of companies? Xiao Yunhai felt that it was useless to let the money lie in the bank account and earn interest, so it would be better to acquire a medical device company to complement Jimin. Hearing what Xiao Yunhai said, Lu Lin nodded. The company has the idea of acquiring a medical device company, but the desire for acquisition is not only because of money, but also involves political factors. Xiao Yunhai certainly knows this. It's not that easy to acquire other people's profitable companies. However, he now has a solution. Having mastered the technology of treating cancer, he can use it as a threat. If someone refuses to agree to the merger, then well, cancer drugs will not be sold in that country. Once this happens, the country's cancer patients and their families can kill the president, prime minister, or the like of that country. Business competition is like this, at all costs, to achieve the goal, even if it is a malicious merger. You don't have to worry too much about the political factors you are worried about. The country will help you solve this problem. You just need to consider which medical company to acquire with the best cost effectiveness. Looking at Lu Lin, Xiao Yunhai said. Lu Lin nodded, indicating that he understood. Mr. Han, tell me about your dream chaser. After talking about Jimin Pharmaceutical Company, Xiao Yunhai turned his attention to Dream Chaser CEO Han Peng. Han Peng heard this, sat up straight, and said with a serious face, "The current situation of Dream Chaser is good. Last year, a movie called Zhu Xianwen was released, and The Ghost Blows Out the Light in the Clouds of Worms Valley is currently being released. Both movies have good reputations. The total box office is expected to reach $1.5 billion, and the distribution is about more than $400 million. In addition, there is currently a collaboration with Universal on Jurassic World 1, which is still working on special effects and is expected to be released this summer. The second part of the White Snake animation universe, Green Snake Origin, will also be released in early May. The second part of the live-action movie Zhu Xian will also be released in August or September. Based on the online novel Dulua Continent, we plan to adapt it into an animated TV series, which is currently being planned. When Xiao Yunhai heard Han Peng say that he was going to adapt Doluo, the corner of his mouth twitched. The classic stock suddenly came to his mind. Resurrection, my love, although I think this novel is a bit. However, if it is adapted into an animated TV series for teenagers, it would be good. Of course, animation is often not profitable by broadcasting rights, but more by hyping IP. Just like the animation of the Island Country, what about Dragon Ball, Doraemon, One Piece and other animations? The essence is to let more people know through the way of dissemination, and then sell IP peripheral products. Don't underestimate the influence of the peripherals. Take the Island Country's Pokemon. Nintendo relies on this IP to make more than $16 billion a year. How many companies can compare? And this industry is highly profitable. In addition, the animation industry contributes 16% to the Island Country's economy. You know, the Island Country's economy has always ranked among the top 3 in the world. This 16% is hundreds of billions of dollars. 0143091228 Felu 1513534451. So the animation industry has great potential. Even if Doluo is indeed a bit too, it is popular among teenagers. The animation industry can be further strengthened, and we can rely more on the entertainment companies we acquired in Longwei to speed up the IP incubation of some excellent and well-known novels. Xiao Yunhai said. Han Peng, okay, Your Highness, we have set up a special IP incubation operation department to fully promote the IP incubation of novels such as White Snake, Ghost Blowing Light, and Grave Robbers Chronicles. How to do it, you can figure it out by yourself. You can refer to the island animation companies and companies such as Disney that have relatively successful IP operations. Xiao Yunhai said. Yes. Han Peng nodded in response. After talking about Dream Chaser film and television, Xiao Yunhai turned his attention to the CEO of Kirin Company and said with a smile, Mr. Wei, how is the progress of the smartphone project? To reply to Your Highness, it is currently progressing smoothly. The operating system has been iteratively developed for several versions. In terms of hardware, the self-developed CPU has completed the preliminary design and is looking for a foundry for production. In terms of screens, we are seeking to purchase production lines, and other components are also in the selection stage. How long will it take to see the sample? Xiao Yunhai asked directly. As for the sample, it will be available in March or April. Okay, the smartphone project needs to be accelerated. Xiao Yunhai reminded, and then asked about streaming media. I learned that the website development has entered the final debugging stage and can be launched at any time. As for big data, Xiao Yunhai did not ask. This project requires the upgrade of Xinhan's internet infrastructure in advance, such as international network bandwidth. Regarding this, the communications company under the Royal Investment Bureau plans to spend 3.5 billion Han yuan to upgrade the national network and increase the network speed to 200 megabits to meet the growing domestic internet service and user needs. Before this, Xinhan's network speed was 20 megabits. It has increased by 10 times. It also enables Qilin to set up cloud computing business. In general, he said that he attached more importance to the smartphone project. This thing can not only bring huge employment rate, but also has a large enough market to make a lot of money. By the way, it can also improve the Xinhan industrial chain. In the previous life, Longwa became a strong country in the electronic product manufacturing industry. Didn't it rely on some well-known electronic manufacturers to drive the relevant industrial chain? Later, Baixiang also wanted to copy this path. Through administrative means, Longwei and European and American mobile phone companies were forced to sell their assets or shares in Baixiang. It's a pity that the eating is too ugly. So some people backed out. After talking about Qilin Company, Xiao Yunhai set his sights on Yang, the CEO of Xinghai Automobile Company, which is responsible for the production and manufacturing of automobiles. Zheng. Seeing this, the latter took the initiative to talk about the current situation of the automobile company. The factory has been completed, and the manufacturing equipment has also arrived. The prototype car is expected to be able to produce 4.5 in April. In addition, as for workers, we are currently recruiting 20 workers for intensive training. Hearing that the prototype car can be built in April, Xiao Yunhai showed satisfaction on his face. As long as the prototype car can be built, it means that it is not far from mass production. In addition, it can also show that Xinghai Automobile Manufacturing Company can produce itself in the automobile industry chain, such as engines and chassis. As for the gearbox, it is not difficult to manufacture it. The difficulty is that it cannot be brought to the market. The gearbox is if you use ZF and other companies, the original car is like this, and the system rewards ZF's gearbox, but they have already registered patents, so it is difficult to bypass the patents. Otherwise, those car companies in Longwa still need to buy. The entire automotive industry chain involves too much, and it is not necessary to research and produce everything by yourself. If you don't import their products, you always have a trade surplus, and they always have a trade deficit. Do you really think they are fools? Just add tariffs to you. Or just ban imports, don't play with you, and see how you sell? So, this is the so-called globalization. Everyone can get a piece of the pie. Those who eat alone will have a bad end. Episode 79, High Hopes, Establishment of a Secret Investigation Bureau, Fighting Counter-Espionage. That's right. Xiao Yunhai suddenly thought that he could combine the existing advantages to create electric supercars and electric buses. The former is positioned as a high-end performance supercar, which is specially sold to the rich second generation, and the latter is positioned as a public bus. In the cities of Longwa, there is a huge demand for buses, and electric buses are also the future development trend. After all, from the perspective of saving, if you burn oil, you will spend a lot of oil in a day, and you won't save much money. If you use electric buses, the charging cost is much lower than the fuel cost. In his previous life, he remembered that many city buses were replaced with electric ones. If this market can be taken, it can not only increase battery sales, but also drive the development of automobile companies. And not only these cities in Longwa, but also Xinhan needs it. Some places where fuel transportation is inconvenient, such as Bangji Island, are more suitable for electric vehicles. After all, there are wind power and solar power generation. From a long-term perspective, it is necessary to develop nuclear energy to meet the power supply. Mr. Su, your Xinhai battery and Mr. Yang Xinhai Automobile Manufacturing Company can cooperate to develop electric supercars and electric buses. At present, the world advocates energy conservation and emission reduction policies, and clean energy is the mainstream of future development. Therefore, the new energy era will definitely bring. At present, the Xinhai Battery Company managed by Mr. Su has mastered the world's most core commercial battery technology. When applied to electric buses and electric supercars, it is not only much safer than the existing lithium batteries and phosphoric acid batteries, but also has several times higher energy density. The battery life and number of cycles are also much greater than phosphoric acid and lithium batteries. It is most suitable for electric buses and electric supercars. Moreover, the competition intensity in the bus market is far less than that of small cars. I think there is a lot of room for development. Not only foreign markets need it, but the domestic market also needs clean electric vehicles. In this way, I will communicate with the Ministry of Transportation and the Royal Investment Bureau to let their city bus transportation companies order 1,000 city buses to Xinhai Automobile Company to support Xinhai Automobile in developing electric buses. The loss is not big. On the contrary, it can support the development of Xinhai Electric Vehicles and Xinhai Battery Company. Moreover, this kind of support is beneficial, not for corruption or something like that. Xiao Yunhai also looked down on that little money. To be honest, if he really wanted to make money, in addition to what the golden finger brought, with his status as the crown prince, he could become a 100 billionaire from scratch in a few years, and 28 is still US dollars. Like those oil tycoons in the Middle East, relying on privileges, all kinds of businesses are mixed. But Xiao Yunhai felt that there was no need to do so, and the king should not compete with the people for profit. Except for special industries such as urban transportation, communication networks, energy, electricity and other industries that ensure people's livelihood, Xiao Yunhai is open to other industries. As long as private enterprises operate legally, local governments must not interfere. Without interference, fair market competition, private enterprises can also do it. Your Highness is right. Yang Zheng smiled at Su Rue. Mr. Su, please contact us more in the future. Su Rue also smiled and said, of course, the two companies will cooperate strongly and make progress together. The two stopped talking and did not communicate too much. After all, this is not the place for them to talk at length. However, the two also felt that Xiao Yunhai's proposal was good. Making electric buses is indeed a direction to open up the market. And electric buses are often purchased by the government, and the market competition is relatively much smaller. After talking about this matter, Xiao Yunhai then listened to the Yunhai Beverage Company. For this company, Xiao Yunhai never thought about making money from the beginning. The original purpose was to hope that ordinary people could have an extra job, and at the same time, they could start a small business and make more money. What made him happy was that Yunhai Beverage Company developed very rapidly, and the low-threshold franchise method of less than 30,000 Han Yuan was very successful in Xinhan. There are already hundreds of them now. Unlike other franchise stores, Yunhai franchise stores have a 55-50 split in store equity. This kind of deep binding of franchise stores and enterprises can also avoid food quality problems. The dozen or so beverages currently launched are selling very well in Xinhan. It is expected to expand to 300 stores this year. Xiao Yunhai gave a high evaluation of this. Take 300 stores as an example, at least 2,000 people have been employed. In addition to recruiting workers for milk tea shops, Xiao Yunhai, as a supply chain company, will certainly increase employees as the scale of milk tea shops expands. So, although the money earned by this company is insignificant compared to other companies, it can drive many people to employment with low investment. As the saying goes, talents are not worried if they have jobs. At present, the employment rate of Xiao Yunhai is unprecedentedly good. And this trend, with the development of Apple's supply chain, as well as companies such as Qilin and Xinghai, the unemployment rate in the future, Xiao Yunhai's unemployment rate will no longer exist. Because Xiao Yunhai is not an immigration country. If you want to join Xiao Yunhai, the conditions are very harsh. And it is clearly stipulated that black people are not accepted. The difficulty of naturalization is no less than that of longwa. Either you are a rich man who spends money to become a citizen, or you are an outstanding young talent, and if you are not good enough, you rely on investment. In short, it is difficult to become a citizen. It was not like this in the early years. As early as the 1960s and 1970s, when the population was only 3 or 4 million, in order to quickly increase the population to deal with the threat of Java, as long as you were Chinese, you could become a citizen without any threshold. However, in the 1990s, it began to narrow, and the difficulty of naturalization gradually increased. This is also the reason why the population growth rate of Xinhan is not as good as that of the Philippines, Java, and Annan. Then came Shanghai Airlines and Shanghai Plastic Surgery Hospital. When talking about Shanghai Plastic Surgery Hospital, Xiao Yunhai said to Sun Liandong, the person in charge of the plastic surgery hospital company, Mr. Sun, the medical beauty market is huge. In addition to expanding the reputation, we must also take the initiative. There are many people doing medical beauty in the world now. The scale of this market will be as high as $100 billion in the future. We have the most professional and top doctors, and we also have the most advanced instruments and equipment in the world. I hope that Shanghai can get the largest share of the big cake of medical beauty. For the Xingmei industry, Xiao Yunhai really has high hopes. Sun Liandong nodded and said, "Thank you for your high hopes for our company. There are indeed promotion problems at present. We have decided to increase investment in online advertising. In addition, the second hospital will be completed and put into use soon. We plan to build 3 more plastic surgery hospitals to meet future needs. Building a hospital is not a big deal for the wealthy Shanghai Plastic Surgery Hospital. Moreover, not every hospital is built according to the scale of a Class 3A hospital. It's just a plastic surgery hospital. There are not so many departments. 2 small buildings are enough. 5 professional medical beauty plastic surgery hospitals, Xiao Yunhai thinks this scale is enough. These 5 hospitals can accept at least tens of thousands of customers who want to become beautiful in a month. Even if only 400,000 customers are received in a year, based on the average cost of 30,000 Han Yuan per customer, the scale is 12 billion Han Yuan, which is not small. Moreover, these 400,000 people come to Xinhan for medical beauty, eating, drinking, defecating and urinating, which can also drive the development of tourism and service industries, which can be said to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Follow your ideas. I just ask for one thing, to quickly promote our name and brand, so that people know that when it comes to plastic surgery, the first thing they think of is our Xinhan, not South Korea. If you can do this, your Shanghai Plastic Surgery Hospital has fulfilled my expectations of you. Sun Liandong said solemnly, "Please rest assured, Your Highness, we will do our best to achieve this goal." Xiao Yunhai nodded with satisfaction. In this regard, he still has confidence in Sun Liandong. After all, he recruited all the staff, 200 top plastic surgeons in the world. Well, if we want to expand to 5 hospitals, we have to strengthen the doctor resources. Decided to go to Shanghai Plastic Surgery Hospital for a visit later. Then, it was the turn of Bangui Island Development Company and Shanghai Real Estate. For these 2 companies, Xiao Yunhai did not have much advice, but emphasized that commercial real estate and tourism real estate business should be developed in prime locations. For example, the construction of high-end apartments is still in great demand. He learned from the customs department that the number of overseas tourists who came to Xinhan last year reached more than 2 million. In the next few years, as the economy of Xinhan further develops, it is estimated that more and more people will come to Xinhan to work. Even when cancer treatment drugs are available, the number of people coming to Xinhan for medical treatment or immigration will explode. The reason is very simple. Xiao Yunhai plans to include cancer in the major disease insurance of Xinhan. Pay 600 yuan per year to participate in the national medical insurance, and the reimbursement rate will increase from 60% to 70%. Participate in employee medical insurance, and the reimbursement rate will increase from 75% to 85%. In this way, the public's self-paid expenses will be reduced to between 15% and 30%, and after reimbursement, basically everyone can afford it. This greatly enhances the attractiveness of Xinhan to foreigners. After all, cancer is not covered by insurance in many countries, that is, it is not included in the national medical insurance. Even after inclusion, the reimbursement rate is too low, and many medicines have to be paid for by oneself, unlike Xinhan. 70% means that all expenses are reimbursed, and there is no self-paid medicine according to this ratio. This is also why Xiao Yunhai proposed to further tighten the immigration policy at the cabinet meeting this year. Of course, if you are a billionaire with hundreds of millions of dollars, you can directly donate $10 million to the government and you can directly become a citizen, provided that you are not black. For black people, even if you donate $100 million, it will be useless. Black people are not welcome in Xinhan. The meeting ended in the afternoon. The next day, Xiao Yunhai went directly to the 5th floor of Xinhan Chang'an Center. Biomedical Research Institute. The drug treatment formula for treating blood-type tumors such as leukemia, malignant lymphoma, and multiple myeloma was handed over to Xiao Yunhai. At the same time, in order to enhance the drug research and development capabilities of the institute, Xiao Yunhai spent another 5 million points to purchase 50 top medical experts from the system. Together with the original 15 medical experts, a top medical research and development team of 65 people was formed. In order to ensure the safety of this group of people and avoid being harassed by the outside world, Xiao Yunhai also asked Xinghai Real Estate Company to build a closed research center in a mountainous area 2 kilometers near the Military Research Institute. Before this, the royal guards were responsible for the security of Xinhan Chang'an Center. To put it bluntly, they were worried that commercial companies would steal data. In early February, 2 days before the Spring Festival, Xiao Yunhai spent another 30 million points from the system and recruited 600 veteran reconnaissance soldiers with agile skills and reconnaissance capabilities from the system. He set up an intelligence organization, referred to as the National Secret Investigation Bureau, whose main task is domestic counterespionage. It has the power of direct arrest. Local police unconditionally cooperate. He is in charge of it personally. Before this, Xinhan also had 2 major intelligence agencies. One is the 3-Service Intelligence Bureau under the General Staff of the Army. It is mainly responsible for collecting overseas military intelligence. The second is the Ministry of National Security, which is independent of any department and managed by the king himself. Its main responsibilities include collecting foreign intelligence, counterespionage, counterterrorism, and political security. The total number of people reached more than 20,000. This time he planned to reform the Ministry of National Security. The Ministry of National Security was abolished and the National Secret Investigation Bureau and the National Foreign Intelligence Bureau were established. The main responsibilities of the former are responsible for domestic business, namely counterespionage and counterterrorism tasks, and maintaining national security. The National Intelligence Bureau was changed to External Affairs, responsible for collecting foreign intelligence and providing rescue services for foreign intelligence personnel. After Xiao Yunhai communicated his ideas and original intentions with his father Xiao Hongjing, Xiao Hongjing agreed deeply and expressed his support for the establishment of the National Secret Investigation Bureau on the spot. After obtaining his father's permission, Xiao Yunhai carried out drastic reforms and laid off personnel in the Ministry of National Security. All internal personnel, except those in the operations department, who were responsible for counterintelligence intelligence, were laid off. There was no guarantee that these people had not been corrupted by foreign intelligence agencies. It's better not to do it. It's better to collect internal intelligence by your own people. As for the laid-off personnel, they can choose to receive compensation, or they can choose to transfer to the National Foreign Intelligence Bureau or the Ministry of Internal Affairs. And this adjustment of internal institutions was only circulated internally and not announced to the public. And Xiao Yunhai's move caused many countries to suffer heavy losses. They finally infiltrated the Nuhan National Security Department, but the sudden change directly laid off the personnel. 383. Or they will be transferred from their posts and will never have access to core secrets again. It means that all the previous efforts have gone down the drain. In the case of being unable to distinguish who was a spy, Xiao Yunhai likes to cut the Gordian knot like this. He is not in the mood to let people waste energy on internal review. Even if the review is passed, Xiao Yunhai will not fully trust it. So it is a one-size-fits-all approach, saving time and worry, and it is a good idea. The new year is as usual. After playing with a few people for half a month, he entered the work. He is not as relaxed as Lu Tianxian and the other girls. To put it bluntly, Xiao Yunhai at this moment is more like a prime minister of a country. Although many things are handled by the heads of corresponding departments, there are still many things to manage a country, and there are many documents to approve. He also has to go out for inspection frequently. After the new year, Xiao Yunhai came to the Military Research Institute again, and he was accompanied by the Air Force commander and other senior Air Force generals. First, he took them to visit the Military Research Institute, based on the Gripen combat mechanism White Crane fighter. I heard before that the Military Research Institute established by His Highness has developed a fighter, but I didn't expect it to be true. Huang Jinqing looked at the fighter in front of him with excitement. The Air Force generals behind him were all excited, looking at the White Crane fighter, as if they were looking at a beautiful woman, looking at a charming treasure. Xiao Yunhai has come many times, but he is not so excited. He smiled and said, "Commander Huang, let your people fly up and see if it meets the needs of your Air Force." This time he came mainly to open the eyes of the Air Force guys, and secondly, to confirm the Air Force's purchase of the White Crane fighter. Hearing this, Huang Jin immediately said that he would fly it himself. "You fly it yourself?" Xiao Yunhai frowned and said, "Commander Huang, why don't you let the young people do it?" "Commander, let me do it, I'm young, I'll fly it." "I'll do it, I'm younger." Looking at a group of Air Force generals in their 40s, arguing over who will test fly. Huang Jinqing's face darkened, and he said angrily, "What are you arguing about? I have the highest rank, and I have the final say." Several Air Force generals were unwilling to admit defeat, but they did not argue much. After scolding a group of subordinates, Huang Jinqing looked at Xiao Yunhai with a flattering face. "Your Highness, I can do it, I have taken the empty golden helmet before." "Okay. Then you should be careful." Xiao Yunhai saw that he insisted on doing so, and he did not say anything more. After getting Xiao Yunhai's permission, Huang Jinqing was very happy. Under the envious eyes of a group of Air Force subordinates, he put on his flight suit, put on his helmet, and boarded the fighter plane that had been prepared long ago. A moment later, a hot flame sprayed out from the tail of the fighter plane, and the fighter plane took off quickly and turned to the sky. A few minutes later, seeing Huang Jinqing driving a fighter plane and practicing actions in the air, several Air Force generals below started to discuss. Commander Huang is worthy of the golden helmet, and his skills are still sharp. Episode 80. The military ordered 22 fighter jets, Kirin mobile phones. Commander Huang is worthy of the golden helmet, and his skills are still sharp. From the flying posture of the fighter, the performance of this fighter seems to be better than the Gripen fighter we have in service. Hiss, good movements and smoothness. It's incredible that such a fighter is actually produced by ourselves. With this fighter, who dares to challenge us in Southeast Asia in the future? Several people talked at once, and their faces were all filled with smiles. After a while, the fighter landed smoothly. Huang Jinqing said excitedly, "It's great. I haven't felt the excitement of flying a fighter for a long time. This fighter is really good. It is much better than those fighters I drove before. In terms of maneuverability, it is not inferior to our F-16 fighter in service. Your Highness, you have helped our new Han Air Force a lot. With this fighter, my new Han Air Force can soar like an eagle from now on." No wonder Huang Jinqing is so happy. Now that Nuham is able to produce fighters, and the performance is so advanced that it has reached the world's mainstream level, this means that Nuham will not have to worry about political factors that may cause it to not be able to buy fighters and parts. And once it can produce fighters, it can continue to produce. As the saying goes, if you have food in your hands, you will not be in a hurry. Once Nuham has the ability to produce fighters and does not rely on foreign countries, who can compare with it in Southeast Asia? You know, some countries in Southeast Asia have strong air forces and are equipped with the most advanced fighters. But these countries' fighters are bought after all. It's okay in peacetime, but once war comes, there is a high possibility that there will be a lack of parts for maintenance. Even air-to-air missiles, without replenishment, are like scrap metal. Now that Nuham has successfully broken this phenomenon, do you think Huang Jinqing, the commander of the Air Force, cannot be excited and happy? Commander, tell us, how does it feel to drive? Is the pull-up smooth, and the turning angle, how is its performance compared with F-16 and our Gripen fighters? The generals of the Air Force came forward to ask. Huang Jinqing responded with a few words, and then found Xiao Yunhai, "Your Highness, the performance of this fighter is very good. I wonder how many are there. If the Air Force buys it, the bare machine purchase price is about 100 million yuan per machine. Including air-to-air missiles, the average price is 1.1 billion. This is the internal selling price. This price was set after he and Xia Qiming communicated. The production cost of the bare machine is 41 million Han yuan. The cost is so low, mainly because all the parts are their own. So the price can be very low. If it is like the Nordic country, the engine, air-to-air missiles, and avionics are imported, then the cost will probably be 26 million more. Equipped with air-to-air missiles, the cost is only 65 million Han yuan, and it is not expensive to sell it to the Air Force for 110 million Han yuan. You should know that the performance of the Nordic country's Gripen fighter is not as good as the White Crane fighter. The price sold to Siam and Samba is $70 million. $1 equals 2.6 Han yuan, that is 182 million Han yuan. Selling to the Air Force for 117 million Han yuan is already a gift for the sake of his family. Xiao Yunhai can't let military researchers work for the army for free. Even those arms companies in the United States have to make money when they sell to the US military. After all, military researchers are private, not state-owned. They are created by him, so they should be charged. Huang Jinqing's eyes lit up when he heard that the purchase price of a White Crane fighter was only 117 million Han yuan, including air-to-air missiles. As the commander of the Air Force, he had led the purchase of military aircraft. He also knew the prices of mainstream fighters in the world. The purchase price of the F/A-18 Hornet is as high as 100 million US dollars, which is 260 million Han yuan when converted into Han yuan. The price of the US military's F-16 fighter sold to allies is also between 60 million and 80 million US dollars, and it is even more expensive to sell to Taiwan. In short, there is absolutely no fighter that is stronger than the Gripen at the price of 117 million Han yuan. And sometimes, even if you have money, you still can't buy fighter planes. Just like Argentina. It is a powerful country in South America, and its economy is not bad, but it can't buy fighter planes. It still uses the third-generation fighter planes such as Super Intended, which were produced decades ago. The gap is not a little bit. There is no way. Because of the Falkland Islands incident, Britain has put pressure on the world, making it so that no country in the world is willing to sell fighter jets to the Argentine Empire. Your Highness, our Air Force is willing to purchase 16. Huang Jinqing said impatiently. The Air Force did not get much of the 19.5 billion Han yuan military budget this time, at 3.2 billion Han yuan. The Navy was also sharply reduced. Last year, it spent 10 billion US dollars to buy more than 20 warships and submarines. It is impossible to buy new warships this year. The army gained the most. This time, the military, including Xiao Yunhai, is determined to upgrade the equipment of the army. No, let's go to 22. 22 is the most suitable. Huang Jinqing said excitedly. Xiao Yunhai laughed and said, if you buy so many, your Air Force will not eat this year and starve? Fortunately, I don't think it's a big problem. Isn't there more than 600 million? I think it's enough if we squeeze it together, Huang Jinqing said with a grin. At this moment, in his mind, eating and training were not important. Buying planes was the most important thing. As for training, wouldn't it save hundreds of thousands of Han yuan if we trained less? Xiao Yunhai didn't care. He was also joking. More than 600 million Han yuan, for an Air Force with less than 10,000 people, it is absolutely no problem to simply cover daily life, training, and salary. More than 600 million Han yuan, almost 1.9 billion renminbi. Okay, then we'll do as you said and buy 22 planes. After we go back, your Air Force will write an application and hand it over to the Equipment Bureau to go through the process. Yes. Huang Jinqing replied happily, and the other people also showed joy on their faces. After the test flight of the White Crane fighter, Xiao Yunhai took Huang Jinqing to meet Xiao Qiming. Xiao Qiming also took this opportunity to learn more about the needs of the Air Force in detail, in order to facilitate the subsequent research and development of improved fighters. March 1st. The official website of the Military Equipment Bureau released a news that it purchased 22 White Crane fighters, related parts, and flight personnel training from the Shanghai Aircraft Manufacturing Company, an enterprise established by the Military Industry Research Institute, at a total price of 2.574 billion Han yuan. This article caused heated discussions on the Xinhan internet. So quickly purchased? Isn't this a bit too fast? Yes, it was only tested at the end of last year, and it's less than 3 months, and it's ready to be produced? Isn't this a bit too fast? You say, is the military too anxious? I wonder if you guys have nothing better to do. The military is a professional group, and the fact that they placed an order so quickly shows one thing, that is, the performance of the White Crane fighter must be better than our previous predictions, and it can meet the needs of the Air Force, which is why the Air Force can't wait to purchase it. That's right, we laymen, don't worry about it. In short, the military must have their considerations for doing this. Yes, some people are keyboard warriors, and you are the only one who understands. Doesn't the Air Force understand better than you? You can think of problems, but others can't? Support the above post +1, some people just worry about nothing. Besides, if the government doesn't support our own military enterprises, who will buy them from abroad? The news was just a topic of conversation for many people. But it also attracted the attention of some countries, who wanted to visit, but they were all rejected. For the Military Research Institute, making money is not their goal. The main goal is to complete the weapons research and development tasks assigned to them by Xiao Yunhai and realize the national defense independence of Xinhan. As for making money, it is just to improve living standards. Time passed quickly, and Xinhan's various policies were implemented in an orderly manner. New high-rise buildings can be seen everywhere. As more and more people flocked to Xinhan to work, accommodation became a big problem. Most of the houses in Xinhan are a 2 or 3-story single-family house. There are very few high-rise residential communities like Longhua. In order to alleviate this situation, the Royal Investment Bureau, after obtaining authorization, sold several plots of land to the Chang'an municipal government at a normal price. The total area of the land is 10,000 mu. The total price reached 2 billion Han yuan. After acquiring the land, the Chang'an municipal government began to attract investment from all over the world, dividing the 10,000 mu of land into many small units, attracting real estate developers from Longhua and other domestic real estate developers to develop commercial residential communities to alleviate the housing problem. Not to mention, real estate developers such as Country Garden, Xianjiang Sun Hongkai, Hutchison Whampoa, Hang Lung, and New World have all acquired land. By selling less than 1/10 of the land, the Chang'an municipal government earned back the 2 billion Han yuan principal it had spent before. It seems that the royal family lost money, but in fact, the royal family donated land to the government at a low price in this way to support development and increase fiscal revenue for the government. Just like the previous Labuan Island, in the same way, some land was sold to the Labuan city government at a low price. If the royal family does not sell land, how can the government develop it? You should know that in New Han, there are 3 types of land: privately owned, government owned, and royal owned. Among them, the area of privately held land accounts for 38.2% of the total area, and the government-owned land accounts for less than 5% of the total area. The rest is all owned by the royal family. It can be said without hesitation that the country's land is in the hands of the royal family. There are many factors that cause this reason. In short, it is reasonable, legal, and compliant. Now, if we want to develop on a large scale, the royal family can only take out some land from time to time and sell it to the government at a low price to support the government's urban development strategy. This model is also good, and the royal family can recover some money. Secondly, it can also increase fiscal revenue for the government. Finally, real estate can also increase the value of ordinary people's assets. The royal family is also happy to use the land to engage in real estate and speculate on land prices. The royal family can realize the appreciation of land by holding land. So it benefits in many aspects. The only people who feel that they are losing are those who buy commercial houses at high prices, and most of the buyers of commercial houses are foreigners. In Xinhan, as long as you invest in commercial houses and the price reaches 1 million yuan, and you live in Xinhan for 5 years, you can obtain Xinhan permanent resident status. It seems simple, but there are also restrictions. Black people are not allowed. Not satisfied? Go and sue, and say that discrimination is okay. Xinhan does not intend to do business with black people at all. Unlike naturalized Xinhan citizens, people who obtain permanent residence do not enjoy any preferential policies of the Xinhan government, such as medical treatment. Opening permanent residence is also to increase the labor force and promote the development of cities and the economy. Of course, permanent residents who want to become naturalized in Xinhan need to live for 8 years, and then be politically reviewed by the Immigration Department of the Ministry of the Interior, and the number of places is limited each year, less than 1,000. The purpose of doing this is to prevent too many foreign immigrants from causing the royal family's influence and authority to decline. After all, these outsiders, unlike the locals, are highly loyal to the royal family. Not everyone in the world is as obedient as the dragons, and does not cause trouble. That day, Xiao Yunhai received a call from Wei Mingji of Qilin Company. The prototype has been developed. Upon hearing the news, Xiao Yunhai immediately put down his work and rushed to Qilin Company with Lin Na. Not to the factory, but to the central office building of Chang'an. That is, Xinhan Chang'an Center. Your Highness, Wei Mingji saw Xiao Yunhai's car stopped, and respectfully stepped forward and took the initiative to open the back door. Warmly welcomed Xiao Yunhai. The two shook hands and exchanged a few words. Xiao Yunhai suggested to see the prototype. Your Highness, please come in. The group took the elevator. They arrived at the meeting room on the floor where Wei Mingji was. There were 2 boxes on the table. Is this a prototype? Xiao Yunhai picked up a box that had not been disassembled yet, and the box was printed with a picture of the phone's appearance. The metal frame used in the appearance is very similar to the appearance of the unreleased Apple 4S, but the screen is much longer. Yes, Your Highness, this is a prototype that has been produced and has passed all tests perfectly. Xiao Yunhai nodded. Can it be disassembled and experienced? Of course. Hearing this, Xiao Yunhai tore open the outer packaging and took out the phone from the box. It was a full-size screen. The body was black, and the frame was made of silver metal. The body was very thin, and the home button was directly cancelled. This was definitely an innovation at the moment. Most of the current mobile phones also have keyboards. In addition, the buttons on both sides of the body were redesigned, and the appearance was not copied from the original Apple mobile phone. From the appearance point of view, it looked more atmospheric and upscale than the Apple 4S to be released this year. Especially the full touchscreen design, which is quite rare. Press the start button. OJ. Accompanied by a drop of water and a pleasant sound, the black screen appeared a startup animation, and a running unicorn rushed into the sky. The unicorn is a symbol of auspicious beasts, representing good luck. After starting, enter the system introduction page and follow the instructions. After selecting the Chinese language, follow the operation for a while. Then, enter the official interface of the phone. There are still few icons, only some simple basic applications. Basic applications like dialing, SMS, camera, weather, calendar, etc. However, there is an App Store. After connecting to the internet, I click to open the App Store and look through it carefully. There are about 200 or 300 applications. This is the advantage of using Android. The more users and developers there are, the more applications there are, King Zhao's. Don't worry about the lack of applications. I downloaded a software at random and tested its fluency. It was very smooth without any lag. This made Xiao Yunhai very satisfied. Can users install applications directly without going through the App Store? Your Highness, are you talking about external application installation? Yes. It can be done at the system level. The current version does not do it. If necessary, this function can be added in subsequent system upgrades. Then prohibit external application installation. Users must download applications from the App Store. My suggestion in the early stage is not to charge any handling fees. After there are tens of millions of Kirin mobile phone users, consider charging application developers a handling fee. The App Store is a big piece of meat. Apple makes more money from this piece of meat every year than from selling mobile phones. Moreover, prohibiting the installation of external programs can also prevent some rogue software from being illegally installed. If you do this, it may lead to the need to recruit a large number of people to review applications, which will increase the company's operating expenses. Wei Mingji reminded. Xiao Yunhai nodded, I know. This matter needs to be viewed from two aspects. Although it increases operating costs, it can also increase the revenue of the App Store. At most, it will cost money in the early stage. After the operation is started, the income will definitely be greater than the expenditure. Moreover, this can also create some jobs. In general, I think the benefits outweigh the disadvantages. Wei Mingji nodded and no longer raised any objections. Xiao Yunhai opened the settings and checked the configuration of the phone. The memory is 32 GB. The camera, 5 million pixels in the front and 8 million pixels in the back. The running memory is 1 GB. This configuration is absolutely awesome in this era. Is this a high-end configuration? Your Highness, it is a high-end configuration. How much does it cost? How do you plan to price it? Xiao Yunhai asked a very critical question. As for the cost, thanks to the CPU, battery, and display screen that we own, the cost can be reduced a lot. The cost of producing a high-end version is 600 Han Yuan,